Welcome, welcome, welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarity. I will be your host, and we're going to go on a quest for truth together. Yes, we really are, and here we go. You're aboard the spaceship now, aboard my star cruiser. We're high above the stratosphere in the lower Earth orbit, high above the space station, the International Space Station, and here we go. We are live. Sharing this out. Please share this out to your favorite social media program or platform, whatever you call it these days. Whatever they're calling those darn things these days. I mean, boy, they got a new name for everything every day, don't they? They certainly do. Well, I want to welcome each and every one of you here to the Truth Quest. We got some interesting things to talk about today, I should say. Very interesting. And hey, we got one like already. I'm going to grab number 2 on the thumbs up. So when you hit the thumbs up, you get that number for your lucky number for a week. We're going a little early today, folks. And that's, so we don't go so late, I guess. That's why we're doing it. And I think I'm going to have to put this out onto my, also onto my Truth Quest Facebook page, because I have one of those too. And if you're on Facebook, you're welcome to come and visit sometime. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll see if it's showing up yet. I hope you're all having a great time. A wonderful, wonderful evening here. It's Friday night. Yes. The weekend is ahead of us. Okay, well, it's not showing up. And I hope each and every one of you have a great weekend. Hello, Valak21. Welcome to the show. Good to see you here. Trying to share this out to my Facebook page. There it is. Okay, now we can do it. Things are going a little slow on the intranet today. Has anybody else had problems like that? Or is it just me? It could be just me. It could very well be just me. Because I've had issues like this before lately. Alrighty then. Yeah, we had some snow today, about an inch fell, blustery winds. So it's definitely, we're in the throes of winter still. Hello, Anne Green. Welcome to the program. I'm glad to see you here. All right. Okay, let's get into this, shall we? Let's see what we got to look at today in our little bag of tricks here. Now, as you know, self-driving cars are like a big deal now, okay? And I don't know if you've heard it, but there are some companies coming out with self-driving cars. And some of the first prototypes and models are coming out. So check this one out. This looks kind of familiar. I don't know. What do you think? Do you remember this one? First image leak of VW's self-driving car. Yes, that's Herbie the Love Bug. Remember him? He sure did drive himself. And it was a magical show. So there you go. A little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of humor. How do you like that? Yeah, good old Herbie the Love Bug. Boy, I remember going to those movies. drive-in movies with the parents, you know, and just a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Boy. You know, what's really cool about living where I live right now is there is still a drive-in movie theater, you know, fairly close to here, a couple towns away. So that's a lot of fun. And they even have, it's a very old place. It's from the 50s or maybe older. And they have all the original equipment in the concession stand. And they have a real butter melter. So they don't put oil on top of the popcorn. They actually put butter. They actually have a butter melting machine. So there you go. It's over there in Fish Creek, Wisconsin. So it's just north of here. So there you go. If you're ever up in the area and it's like summertime or fall, go check out that old-fashioned drive-in theater up there in Fish Creek, Wisconsin. I think it's called the Skyline, something like that. Yeah, it's pretty groovy. Groovy like a record. Groovy like a record. How do you like that? That's the new saying. It's sweeping the nation. Actually, only on this channel. But there you go. It's a start. It is a start. Butter makes everything better. Yes, Ann Green. You got that right. My hometown has one that is still operating. Oh, very good, Valak 21. Yeah. Boy, we got lots of stuff here to take a look at. Let me see. I don't know if you've all seen this picture. I've shared this before, but for some people, I know there's some new people watching today. And this is an old, maybe it's not showing up. Let me check over here. So this is a picture of an alien, a selfie, taken presumably by an alien, either of himself or his buddy. There was 3 pictures total. This was the best one. You can see the highlights from the reflected light on his eyes. To me, you know, it looks real. It looks like it's alive. It has that aliveness look. Now, this particular picture, it looks like it's a little bit, maybe a little bit too much contrast in it. But yeah, from Stan Romanek. It's really sad what happened to him. He was attacked viciously, you know, smacked over the head with a metal bar or something. Gave him brain damage. He was shot. He shot at his van and a bullet embedded into his windshield. He actually had to fight for his life against these 3 men that came out of a black SUV that told him to stop talking about UFOs, you know, all dressed in suits and looking like, you know, muscle men. So he was on his bicycle, so he grabbed his chain and he started whipping it around, and he went after this one guy. He thinks he killed him, but they just put the guy that he knocked out into the van, and then they went into the SUV, and then they took off. So they really had it in for him. They did not want him talking about UFOs. There's 4 books accredited to him and his wife, Lisa Romanek, Stan and Lisa Romanek. So check them out. They're great books. They've got lots of video, photo evidence. And in the last few episodes, I talked about the mathematical formulas that Stan would sit up in the middle of the night, grab a paper and a pen, And with his eyes closed, he'd write these complex mathematical formulas from like the 1950s or 1930s. Very obscure mathematical formulas that showed that had to do with wormholes and propulsion. So there you go. And he had an 8th grade math level. And when he woke up, his wife said, "Hey, Stan, when you were sleeping, you wrote this. I videotaped you." She videotaped him with his eyes closed, writing this stuff. She goes, "What did you write last night? I filmed you, or your eyes were closed. You were writing this. What were you writing?" He looks at it, he goes, "I don't know. Looks like scribbling." Well, it wasn't scribbling. They checked it out, and it checked out. Amazing. So it's a case they don't want you to look into. That's why they've attacked him so viciously. And he's just like a normal guy. So it's very sad what they've done to him. So yeah, bringing out the truth. Sometimes there's a price to pay, and it shouldn't be that way. We should be living in a world where you can bring something forward and not be viciously attacked, like he had been for many years. Hey, Dark Brain. Okay, drive carefully. Well, yeah, I don't know. I wanted to start early, but getting a lot of people saying I want to start earlier. I don't really want to go head to head with Red, but I don't know. It just gets too late. It just gets way too late on a Friday night. So yeah. Hello, Becky. Good to see you this evening. Yeah, I'm sorry, Dark Brain. Most of the time I do try to not go head to head with him, but I don't know, maybe I'll have to change the night or something. I don't know. But I kind of like the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So there's that. Now, there's another interesting one that I just came across today. Very interesting. Oh, and also, I'm going to put this in the chat right away. And that is the call-in information. Okay. There we go. And yeah, you know what? I'm going to take this copy and paste into this so we can get another mod over here. Yeah, there we go. So there. Yeah, let's see. What else do we have to show you in the grab bag? Hello, Kelly George. Good to see you. Well, let's see what we got for you today. We already looked at that alien, that Stan Romanek alien selfie. I think it's the first alien selfie, for sure. Here's one, and oops, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, those buttons are so close together. All right. So here is a UFO picture. Now, it's at an old lumber yard. It looks like it's in Colorado, Ward, Colorado, at a sawmill, April 1929. Now, the person that submitted this was 6 years old when this picture was taken. He said that his dad was out taking a picture at the sawmill for some reason, and he heard this loud sound. They all heard this loud sound. He looked up and saw this. He clicked a picture. everybody else heard it, but nobody else saw it. And so this person's trying to find more information about it. So if you don't have any information about this case, 1929, a few years ago. Yeah, a few years ago. I was just a little kid back then, so I don't remember much back then. So there you go. A classic UFO case I'd never heard of. Now the picture looks a bit tattered. It's been through it's had its better days. Definitely. Let's see, add a little more contrast to that maybe. Well, that's kind of interesting looking. All right, zoom in on it. It's nice to have a little zoomed in shot right there built in. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Kind of hard to make out. It looks like it has some kind of markings along the edges here, and maybe a bulb here, and another thing over here. So it's not your classic disc shape. Very interesting. So yeah, an obscure photo that I've never seen before. I've never seen this. It's kind of interesting. I kind of like it. What do you guys think? Hey, Mud Rabbit. Oh, Mud Rabbit, I saw you on a recent Pena perspective. Is it Pena or Pena? He's my friend, but I can't remember how to pronounce his name. And you were great in it. So anytime you want to call in, Mud Rabbit, you feel free to go ahead and do it, because we like hearing from you. All your subscriptions were erased? Oh my goodness. Oh, that's terrible. So, so did you hear that, folks? Mud Rabbit, all of her subscriptions were erased. So if you're subscribed to the channel, make sure that you're still subscribed. Maybe you got erased too. So, Enya. Pena? That's what I thought it was, Pena. Yeah, you guys rocked. And you were on there with my friends, the Swearingens, whom I'm trying to get back on the show. In fact, I invited them on tonight, but it was a little bit short notice. So I had them on before, and they were great guests. Hello, Catherine Weiss. Welcome to the program. So I'm trying to get them back on again, and they're just great. And they were great in that show too, in Pena Perspective. Yeah, my good buddy, Mr. Pena. Yeah, and Combat Carl was on there too. Don't get Carl started on that toroidal field. Yeah. Todd and Carl. Yeah. Yeah. It was nice to see Carrie on there too. You know, I think Todd and Carrie, they're like a dynamic couple, and even their voices, you know, really blend well with each other. So they look cool together. They sound cool together. They're just cool together, you know, they're cool. So, and they have a lot of interesting things to say all the time too. So, and I really like the things that you were saying too, Mud Rabbit. Yeah, a good time on Tuesday. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, Tuesdays. Tuesday nights. Okay, I did go ahead and I subscribed. I can't believe I wasn't subscribed before. I mean, I thought I was. So that's the thing, people. If you think you're subscribed to someone, go and subscribe again and hit that notification bell and hit the thumbs up. Then you get your lucky number. Yeah, Todd and Carrie rock. They're very cool. they're Facebook friends of mine too, and they posted this video of them on an overpass like about a week ago or so, maybe more, when a lot of truckers were going north to to Canada, and it was just like a festive occasion on this overpass. All these people were, holding signs and flags, and everyone was happy, and it's like, wow. So that was really cool. So we'll be able to show that film too when we get him on the show here. Hello, Artist 61. It's 7:30 Eastern. Okay, I'll write that down. I'm Central. So that'll be 6:30 or 8:30, whichever one it is. One of the two. It's funny. I have the clocks in my house. I've changed all my clocks from daylight savings, right? Fall back, spring forward, fall back. So we put our clocks back an hour, except one of my clocks isn't changed back. And I'm like, every once in a while I go, yeah, I should change that. But I just know it's like, oh, it's 6 o'clock. No, it's actually 5 o'clock. Because that's the clock I didn't change. And but yeah, good to see you too, Artist 61. Someone put a question in the on a timeline today, and I'll put it here for the chat too. Do you have any words, strange words that your child had for another word? Like it's supposed to be one word, but they say something else that was funny. If you have something, write it down there in the chat. If you have a memory of your child saying a funny word, something different, And I wrote down one that was still to this day, it makes me chuckle. It's so funny. So my son, he's like 2, right? 2.5, or I don't know, 3. Well, anyway, he's just not very, well, he's pretty good with most words. But at that moment in his life, when he was a toddler, he was walking, but he was walking at 6 months. I mean, he was flipping over the couch. But when he started to talk, he had different words for certain things. And for boots, his word for boots was geeks. 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 Boots are geeks. So we're walking through Target, and AJ's walking beside me. We're walking down the aisle, and then there's this center island where these 2 teenage boys are trying on cowboy boots. And my son says very loud, pointing at him, "Hey, Dad, look at those geeks." It was so funny. Oh, yeah, your stove is always off half the year too? Yeah. Aaron, you should call into the show. I'm already on the show. Oh, you mean on Panya Perspective? Maybe I will. Maybe I will. That sounds like fun. Yeah. Yeah. I had Pena on my show a couple times, long time ago. He's always welcome to come back. Great guy. I knew he'd have a good show. He's a good guy. Lives on top of a mountain down in South America. He's got it made, living on top of a mountain. There you go. All right, what else do we have to show here, folks? Let's see. When you're driving and you see signs, whether it be a sign on the road or a sign behind a truck, sometimes you just don't know what to do, right? Sometimes you just don't know what to do. Not quite sure what to do right now. Keep left, do not follow. Not a whole lot you can do, I mean, in that situation. Let's see if there's any other words. Clock is confusing. I just leave it. Yeah, then you don't have to change it in 6 months. So there you go. A little bit of humor for you there. Oh, you're trying to call in. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me see. Oh, yes, there you are. All right. We're letting you in. Okay. All right, she's connecting her audio. And feel free to call in too, anybody else. The more the merrier. There you go. Still connecting the audio. Thank you, Mud Rabbit. Look at how nice and neat it looks when she does it. Because she's a pro. She's the pro. Okay, we're still waiting on that audio. And still not sure what to do on the road here. My daughter called football go-go because when we watched, that's what we'd say. Oh, go, go, go. Oh, that's cute. Sj21. That is a cute one. Yeah. My big brother, now I don't remember this necessarily, but you know, family stories. My big brother Mark, who is a custom car builder, he called jelly, like jelly that you put on your toast. He called it V-Vol V. V-Vol V. And he called light Keese. Keese. That's what he called light. Go-go. They should rename football go-go. Maybe they get more people to watch it. It looks like Kelly's having trouble connecting to the audio. I'm gonna close some windows here so that I'm giving maximum amount of bandwidth to what we're doing here. So let's see. Are you there yet, Kelly? Did not connect audio. She didn't connect audio. Okay. Apparently she's having some problems. You're not muted from here. So let's see. Ask to start video. Well, that's odd. Let me check in the chat and see what's happening. All right. Well, Kelly's still trying. Not sure what the problem is. Kelly, are you there? Usually it says ask to unmute. It's not saying ask to unmute. I'll give her a message in the chat. Oh, she's gone. She dropped out. All right. Having a little problem there, so she dropped out. Feel free to call back or anybody. I'll keep an eye on it this time. Let me see. And yeah. Ship needs a new warp drive. That's right. Yeah, it does need a new warp drive. That's New Hampshire, for damn sure, New Hampshire. Yeah, I can't get the audio on my end. Okay. Yeah, I gathered that. Uh, so the button should be in the lower left-hand corner, I believe. When you just put your mouse down there and it will just show up. The button doesn't show up till you hover over it, I believe. So there you go. Okay, let's try it again, huh? Let's see if we can get you on again. Yeah. Let's put a little note in there. A little hello. And while we're waiting for that, let's get the next item up for review, shall we? You know, with all the seriousness going on, it's kind of fun to have it's nice to have a little fun. And so that's what we're doing here. We're having a little bit of fun. How come this otter looks like he's about to guide me on a quest? Makes you feel like the Hobbit, huh? Gonna go somewhere. You otter go. You otter do it. That's all I can say. Hey, yeah, Kelly Q. Okay, you can't get it on your end. Okay. There you go. Well, we're glad that you're new here, Anne. We love having new people here, and we hope that you come back. And hope you tell all your friends. I always encourage everybody to tell all their friends, all their coworkers, their relatives, heck, even your enemies. Why not? It's a lot more fun when everybody's playing, right? Yeah, I thought that was pretty cute. Otters are just adorable little animals, you know. I don't know if I'd want to come back as an otter, but they look like they have quite a lot of fun, right? I don't think it's possible to come back as an otter. I think otters are not quite as high on the evolutionary scale for spirituality. Otters rock, yes, they do. And they play with stones. They have, a lot of them have a favorite rock that they carry with them their whole life, and they play with it and they can juggle it, and they hardly ever drop it. If they do, they go get it, no matter if it's in the water or whatever. Oh, Zoe says hi. Hello, Zoe, wherever you are. Otters rock. We love otters. There ought to be more of them, right? Oh, she's back in. Now let's see if we can make it work this time. Okay. Well, let's try this again. Kelly is connecting to audio. This is Kelly Q, folks. No, this is Kelly. Is it Kelly or Kelly Q? Can't tell. Is there two Kellys? Hello, Terry Hopper. Good to see you here. Uh-oh. Did she drop out again? No, she didn't. She has not dropped out. Okay, let's see here. That's interesting. Oh, you just popped in to say hello. Oh, because he's on tonight. Okay. We'll say hi to him too from us if you go back there. Let's see. Is Kelly, are you there? So when you hover your mouse over, move your mouse over the black screen for Zoom, and you'll see there's a down in the left-hand bottom corner, bottom left, there's a little mute button. You can push it or push it, and then you're not muted. It'll have a line through it, I think, if it's muted. So there you go. I don't know why I'm not hearing anything. I keep checking my thing. I don't think there's anything I can do here. I'm trying to figure it out. Bottom left-hand corner should be the microphone. And if there's a line, like a red line through it, just click on it and then you'll have your audio. However, if you're using your phone, I don't know how that works. I'm not sure how that works. Yeah, Zoso tomorrow on Twitch. Yeah, he's on Twitch. He's on D-Live and Foxhole and all those cool things. Yeah. Okay. Are you there yet, Kelly? Well, while we're waiting for her to get her sound hooked up, I hope she can figure it out. I got this exclusive picture here. It shows some action by Durham, it looks like. Let's see what he caught here. Looks like he caught someone. Let's check it out. Wait, who did Durham catch? Oh my! Oh, look! Well, how do you like that? Look at that. He's wrangling her in. Look at that. Interesting, huh? Oh, you're on a tablet. You might need to you might need to check your sound settings on your tablet. Check the sound settings, and it might say something there about Zoom or something. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. But as soon as you do, say something so we know you're there. But I think you might have to play with your the sound on your tablet, like go to your preferences or whatever they call it on your tablet. And it'll say, oh, sound, where you want the sound, like use your microphone or whatever. You might need headphones. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that works on a tablet. I only have an iPad and I don't like it. I think it's just junk. And I don't think. No. Oh, I hear something.
Am I there?
You're here. Okay, now you're going to turn off the stream in the background.
Okay.
The video.
Microphone or whatever. Am I there?
Yes, you're here. But you need to turn off the YouTube stream in the background or mute it.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, all right. We made it happen. Look at that. How do you like that?
You're very hard to hear on my end. I don't know what happened to me the last time I talked. I did see something in the sky, and I remember I told you something about it was a balloon.
Okay.
I didn't tell you that I hadn't slept in days because of my coughing problem, breathing problem.
Oh, really?
Sitting up in a hardwood chair for a week, and that night I hadn't slept. And when I heard Maxwell Smart say something about my name, I thought, well, yeah, I'll call in. And you wouldn't believe all the troubles I'm having with all these electronics. Tonight I was going to use my computer again, and my mouse is, the battery busted on it.
Oh, no.
But anyway, regarding that night where I saw something, I wrote it down this time.
All right.
To make it more clear if you want to hear about it.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, it was in the fall, because I remember it was a bit chilly out, and we left for the skating ring around 8 p.m. and we headed south on US 19. Oh, I should get back to US 19 was only a 2-lane highway at the time, and
Okay.
Ridge Road was only like a single road. Okay, now it's 2 lanes going either way. But anyway, we headed 19 south to Ridge Road. We made a left, and then we started heading east to Congress Street or Road, whatever. And then that's when I saw that I couldn't see all the stars, like there was something in the sky. And I forgot to tell you that it was the bottom part of whatever I was seeing.
Okay.
So I told Jamie, the driver, and by the way, I don't know if it matters, but we were in a Dodge Dart. I said there was something blocking the stars. And I think he saw it a bit too. And I wanted to go back and check. So he made a U-turn and we went back toward 19 and he turned back around. Oh, I forgot to tell you, when we made the U-turn, we were heading west. We didn't see it at all when we were headed toward 19. I don't know if it could have been light pollution or whatever. But Jamie, he turned around again. So we were headed back toward Congress. And this time I could see more of it. This time I could see that it was a triangle shape. The first time I couldn't tell it was triangle.
Okay.
So that time I asked Jamie to pull over, go into one of the parking lots or whatever, but he wouldn't do it. He said it was too dangerous of an area. But I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and when we left at the skating rink, I couldn't see it anywhere. Whatever was in the sky, it was gone.
Okay. So it was
Oh,
triangle. It was triangle shaped. So did it have like lights on the corners, like the typical ones that you see?
I didn't see any lights on it at all, and it was hard to tell what it was. It's like
And
you
it
could
was
see
nighttime.
it, but you couldn't. Does that make sense?
No.
It was like there's something there, but you can't really
Hmm.
totally see it.
Sure. Okay. But it blocked the stars, so you knew it was there. And it was
Yeah, I
triangle
couldn't.
shaped. Did you see any like uh what made you think it was a triangle shape if it was dark? I mean, how did you determine that?
Heading back toward the skating rink. I was looking to the stars and what was missing in the stars. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Okay.
It's almost like it was a black piece of fabric, but not a fabric. Like it was
Right.
like a black hole.
Okay.
It was like a black hole.
And
It's
triangle shape because there was no you couldn't see the stars behind it.
yeah,
I
you
see.
couldn't see any stars behind it. And like I said,
Okay.
it appeared
Interesting.
to be about the size of 2 cargo containers, like you see in the back of a semi.
Hmm.
It wasn't that big at all. But I don't know how high up in the sky it could have been.
Right. Hard to say.
And it didn't make any noise. And I'm just hoping that somebody else has seen something similar to this.
And what year was this?
I think it was 1982
82. Okay.
because I
Interesting.
wasn't driving yet.
Interesting.
I
Um,
was still in school.
okay.
But yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of triangle shaped craft being seen. And there was in fact, just a little documentary called Secret Space, The Rise of the TR-3B. Secret Space UFOs, The Rise of the TR-3B, I think it is, with Tyler Durgan, the guy that does Secure Team. And
yeah.
he just had another one out today. a good episode. So if you can check that out, he's got some good stuff. People send him good stuff and he posts it. Great channel, good guy. And
Rewatch.
Alora of Sirius was even on that documentary too, with her footage of a TR-3B that she caught after she attended some conference somewhere. She saw it. She filmed it. So then she ended up in a movie. How you like that? So you never know.
But I would like to know if anyone else has seen that. I've experienced a lot of weird things in my life, and sometimes I wonder if it's because of pain levels or what, that some people see and experience something more than others, or some people just more open to it.
Right. Well, so according to some people, the people who are picked up to be looked at by extraterrestrials came here in order to do that. It came here, incarnated here, in order to be of service that way to these other beings. Sometimes that's what happens, which is kind of an interesting thing.
Oh, wow.
But that entity might not realize it, because when you incarnate on this planet, you don't remember your previous life, like you do on other planets. So I think when people come and incarnate here, they might not realize that they're not going to remember anything. But I don't know.
But when I called in the last time, all I remember was trying to get that story to Abby. I shouldn't say story, experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling stories, these are experiences. And it sounded like 10 people were talking to me all at once. And I told my fiance, I think I'm going nuts because I'm on this new medication. And that night I looked it up, and it causes respiratory failure and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So it causes confusion and memory problems.
Wow. You know, so these medications you're on, are they fairly big pills that you're taking?
What do you mean by that?
I don't know. For me, personally, I'm very leery of pills. So if I was taking pills, I might take one of my neodymium magnets, my rare earth magnets, and try to see if it's attracted magnetically. Maybe it's got some chip in it or some nanites or something. Who knows, right?
Well, I really don't want to say. I'll email you the names, but
No, you don't have to. I'm just saying, you might want to hold it up to the light or put a magnet up to it or something. I don't know. I just, the dark people who are, in control of everything, what they're already poisoning the water and the air. I mean, it's
I didn't know this. I knew it by the brand name. I thought I don't ever want to be on that medication because I had a friend that had to be on it after a car accident.
yeah.
And it made her nuts and a moron, and that's pretty much the way I was. But of course, I hadn't slept. I finally got some sleep today. That's why I'm so much brighter.
Yeah.
You don't know what it was like to just be able to lie down and get some sleep instead of sitting in this chair.
I bet.
But the pain that I'm in, it started out in just one area in my face, and I could handle it. It wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, it was like something just opened up, and I stood here in my living room, and I felt like my whole entire side of my face was being electrocuted off. And I
Wow.
was screaming between my teeth because I couldn't move my jaw. I could barely move my mouth.
Oh my.
I'm screaming at him, punch me in the face, knock me out. You got to punch me in the face. And all he could do was just sit in his chair and just grip the arms. And I called my doctor's office because, of course, it's always on a weekend. And I don't know how they managed to understand me the way I was talking, but they called me something in, and it worked pretty quick.
Oh wow.
Something for nerves.
Okay, for nerves.
Nothing mind. It messes with your eyesight.
Okay.
And no sleep. That didn't help either.
Right. Yeah. Boy, I have not been getting much sleep either because of my back. My back doesn't have hardly any pain except when I lay down, which is really weird. I've never had this before, but so I know what you're talking about. It's like right when you need to take a rest, you can't get a rest. So,
Well, I sit up now mostly so I can breathe. I mean, when I took out the garbage, I thought I was going to face plant right in the driveway because I couldn't breathe
oh my goodness.
through
Oh my,
my nose. It's just getting it in my chest.
so you're super congested.
My lungs are clear,
They're clear
but I
now.
feel no, they were clear when my doctor prescribed something to help keep me from coughing.
Okay.
I just stopped coughing and I feel like I'm dying.
Oh my, that's horrifying. Well, I hope that you get better. I mean, are you better? You're better now, right? I mean,
I'm headed to getting better. Like I said, I managed to lie down because whenever I lie down, I start those coughing fits.
oh my.
And they're the kind that scare me that I'm not going to be able to breathe, take my next breath.
Well, my father had Legionnaire's disease, and it's double pneumonia. It's in both lungs. So maybe that's what you have. But you said you're not congested.
No, the doctor said that my lungs are clear, but on the side effects, it causes respiratory failure. So
What?
these medicines I'm on
Oh
are
my God.
causing the coughing and everything.
Oh no. It's not. Well, um, Foreman met but reversed.
No,
That's some nasty stuff I've heard.
but I just wanted to apologize to you and everybody because I don't remember other than when finishing the story.
Hmm.
And you said something about you told us that a while back, and I had no memory of that at all.
Really?
And that's what I was telling Carrie, my fiance. I'm like, I'm having some major memory problems, and I'm having vision problems,
Wow.
and I can't walk to the store anymore. I used to love to walk to the store to get groceries, but I can't do that anymore.
It's probably from the medications that you're taking, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I think so. But I'm sorry to be griping about myself. But I just wanted
Well,
to apologize about the last time I called in.
no, you don't have to apologize. What I do a lot of times is when I'm feeling any kind of ailing at all, I will look up, what kind of foods help this condition, and then I just get next time I go to the store, I get the kind of foods that have the vitamins or whatever in it that will be beneficial, and that's the way I do it. I don't go the vitamin route. I get my vitamins from food. That's what I try to do. So,
Well, for a while there, I wasn't able to eat like a normal person because it's my problem is a jaw problem, TMJ, with trigeminal neuralgia.
oh, okay. It's like the grinding of the teeth, or the like a
No,
lockjaw, like lockjaw.
it just hurts to bite down.
Oh, it hurts to bite down. Okay.
My jaw slides out of place.
Oh man, ouch. Well, that's too bad. I mean, I think we all should pray for Kelly here. Maybe we can get you all healed up. Drink yourself lots of water, and try to eat lots of fruits. Fruits really are good for your health. Um, so I like eating fruits. Pineapple is like a miracle fruit, but don't eat the middle part. Don't eat the middle
I,
part.
I couldn't chew on that. No,
It's very fibrous, but it's not good for you, I guess.
it's got a bromine in it or something.
Right, right, right. But the fresh pineapple is better than the canned kind of stuff. But I just get the sliced pineapple. I get it with some other melons, at the store, chopped up melons and pineapple. It's good stuff. That's my medicine cabinet right there. Yeah, I got pills once because I went in for kidney stones, which are very painful. And they gave me these pills. I took one. It starts with a K. It's like a really strong pain reliever. I took one, and I'm like you. It's like I couldn't function. I'm like, what's going on? Who would ever want to take one of these pills? You know, I didn't take any more. It's like I couldn't. It was like
I
deep
don't like not being in control.
Catoloric or something like Catorolic or something like that. I can't remember what it was called. It started with a K. Yeah, and they did the same thing. They gave me Vicodin once too, and I did the same thing. I tried one of those, and I've never taken one of those again. No way. I would never take one of those again. Those things suck. Plus, I only had the prescription for about 45 minutes. I get a call from Brett Favre. He wants to lend some pills from me. It's like, no, dude. No, dude. I'm not taking them. I'm not giving them to you. There you go. I made that.
I'm like you. After I've had surgeries or something,
Yeah.
I've never taken all the pain pills. I took them when I felt like I needed it.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
take it every 4 hours.
Right. It doesn't make sense to take something when you don't need it, really. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was a little kid, I used to, when I'd get a headache, I'd take an aspirin and my headache would go away. And I'd sit there and look at the aspirin and go, how does this know where to go?
I
And,
used to do.
but really, how does it? It doesn't know where to go. It goes everywhere. So what's it doing in the other places, right? It doesn't
What
just go.
confuses me about this pain medicine that I'm on, it knows right where to go, but yet I feel pain everywhere else. Like if I
Oh,
stub my toe or touch something hot, I will feel that, but yet it knows right where to go in my face.
wow.
But yet I still feel my face if I touch my face.
That's weird.
One thing I don't like, when you mention aspirin and stuff, I used to take a lot of that for headaches. Um, you have something called the rebound effect if you're on that too much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can be on too much pain medicine. That's what I'm worried about with this.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
off.
I haven't taken an aspirin in decades, by the way. I don't take Tylenol or any of that kind of junk either, or any of that stuff. I don't know.
And I wonder if aspirin is the same aspirin we had growing up.
Right. You never know. Now, I had to be particularly careful about pills because I'm an Elvis impersonator, and of course, Elvis had a problem with pills. So there you go. I'm fighting that. But I really have no desire to take pills. I don't really like what they do to you. So, um,
I'm not really good at tracking when I'm supposed to take them either. I'm terrible with that.
yeah. Do you know who it was that got Elvis hooked on taking pills?
No.
His army sergeant,
Oh, wow.
so he could stay up for guard duty. Take these pep pills to keep you up for. Then pretty soon he had to take sleeping pills. But before that, he never took anything.
God, I hope it wasn't my uncle because my uncle was one of Elvis's. His name was last name June. God, I can't even remember. Junior Carroll. I think that Elvis had him as his first when you first go in. I don't know what that's called. Where you get used to being in the barracks and stuff.
Okay. You mean the boot camp?
Yeah.
Apparently, Elvis bought. I think it was at Fort Hood. Was where he did that, and he purchased a pool table and a ping pong table for the rec room, and I think they're still there. You know. with a
Oh
little,
wow.
donated by Elvis Presley. Yeah. And Elvis was asked many, many times if he would sing, with the army band there. Could he
Mhm.
go and listen? He'd always say, "No, no, thank you. I'm I'm here just to be a soldier. I don't really want to sing." He didn't do anything like that.
And
He,
my uncle said that he took everything seriously and he was really good and sweet, thoughtful, and kind.
yeah, he really was. A really a really good kind of a role model in a lot of kind of ways. Although his bodyguards came out with a tell-all, and apparently um, back in the day, see, there was the Memphis Mafia, which was kind of his friends from high school that kind of protected Elvis and kind of, were paid to hang around with him and stuff.
Oh wow.
And so one of the guys they were at Graceland, and there was 7 of them, including Elvis, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And he said, just out of curiosity, I'm gonna count how many women are here tonight. And it was like 105 women there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't as innocent as we all thought, but who knows? You never know.
And that poor thing, how it's kind of hard to trust people, and you don't know if they like you for you or if they just, I don't know, want to use you.
Exactly.
Did you
Right.
ever have any sick fans?
Pardon?
Did you ever have any sicko fans?
Sicko fans?
Yeah.
Um,
Where they want to follow you or stalk you or.
well, I've had instances where a number of ladies were coming at me with dollar bills, and that was kind of frightening because I don't have paper cut insurance, and you never know. Those dollar bills, kind of sharp. That was kind of scary. I forgot the words to Hound Dog. That's how scared I was.
Wow. How
No.
did you get over stage fright?
How did I get over stage fright? That's a very good question because I was always very nervous, giving book reports or talking in class. I was always super nervous. Um, how did I get over stage fright? Well, I just got up there and did it, and it's like a whole different world. It's not the same. Um, well, especially when you're playing someone else. So that's like, okay, it's kind of like Halloween. Like you're pretending to be someone else, right? So that's one thing, right? One level of difference right there. And for a long time, I had a stage name, which was different from my name. So it was kind of uh, I know I can't describe it. When you get up there on stage, it kind of just goes away. Um, and the really neat thing about being on stage when people are clapping and cheering is you feel that energy, and there's like an energy exchange that goes on with the crowd, and it's so dynamic. And I've only experienced a very small portion of that. I can only imagine what Elvis really, he experienced it like a million fold. But it is quite something, and I think that's why a lot of performers they get hooked on performing live, because it's a rush. It's an energy rush. So
Did, did you perform for family a lot when you first started, family and friends, or just.
um, well, the way it started actually was the very first time I ever put an Elvis outfit on was for a Halloween um, party that we were putting on.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and then when I worked at Tonka Toys, I wanted, because Tonka really did Halloween up. I mean, the whole second or third floor was all decorated. It's like unbelievable I've never worked at a place before that went that nuts for Halloween. And so I had my future mother-in-law, or maybe she was my mother-in-law at the time, make me a gold lame suit. And so I got first place at the costume contest. And then, I'd be sitting at home looking in the closet going, man, that thing shouldn't be just sitting there. Man, I got to get that thing on and do something, So I started doing contests and things around Minneapolis. And pretty soon I got hired by a lookalikes company. So
I remember the pictures of the gold lame costume.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about that. I don't know. I wouldn't have the guts to try to get up and sing in front of anybody, but I can't find my key.
Can't find your key?
Yeah,
the key to sing in?
yeah. And what range? Like A or G, E? I can't stay in the tune.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just go by memory because I listened to it so much when I was a kid. I used to draw and listen to Elvis.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's a fun guy to perform as, that's for sure.
He and Johnny Cash and a few others were the only ones we ever listened to.
Yeah, Johnny Cash rocked.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash came from the same place that Elvis came from, Sun Records, down there in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Roy Orbison too.
Oh, that's another one I love. I love him.
Oh yeah, he's great. He is great. Okay, I'm trying to find a picture of me in the gold lame suit.
I think you were wearing it in New York.
Yeah. Oh, you remember that? Okay, good.
She did a good job sewing that.
Yeah. Oops. All right, so there it is. Let's get that up there. Where is it? So what else is going on, Kelly? How have you been? You've not seen any UFOs since '82?
No, the only strange things I've seen in the sky where I can see out over the Gulf was what looked like sewing needles just drops in the sky.
Oh wow.
Somebody told me that was chaff that I guess rockets drop out over the sky
Okay.
so that they can't be followed. I don't know if I'm calling it the right thing.
All right.
And sometimes I'll be watching the sky and a star will go straight across instead of down.
Wow. Weird. That's weird.
So I don't know if it's a star or not. I saw something strange over the Gulf the other day,
Oh yeah.
and I tried taking a picture of it. It turned out to be an airplane. But what disappointed me was the pictures I took. They
Okay.
were all blurry and pixeled out. So I can't take a picture if I wanted to.
Okay. Well, that's too bad. That's too bad.
Yeah, that's a nice picture.
Thank you. And I got one other picture here from Memphis when I was down there on Beale Street.
Yeah, that's a really good one too.
Memphis.
I remember those.
That was a fun time down there. I had a lot of fun. And at the time, it was 2005. I thought, oh, I'm going to come here every year. This is so much fun. I've never been back. So weird.
Yeah.
Tennessee is a long ways away. Long ways away. There's that.
Yeah. Every time I see the white one, I think of the Hawaii tour, and I
Yeah.
think of the beautiful Hawaiian dancers behind him.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Guess what I found today? I'm just going to go ahead
What?
and share this. I was looking at the ISS footage again. Oops. Was it just there and I got rid of it? Oh boy. Let me see. Something's going on here. Is this it right here? I think this is it. Let me see. I got this picture and another picture to show you really quick here. That one's done, I think. Oh, here it is back here. Yeah, so right around here is where that one craft is. So I'm going to show you what I found again today when I brightened this up. See, there it is right here. See it?
Yeah.
So what I do is I take a screenshot of that, and then I do the same thing again to get a better, clearer image or a little more detailed image, and I zoomed up on it. So I'm going to show you that one now. But look how long it's getting. I mean, if it's indeed the Chinese space station that they're building, they're going to make it a mile long. That's how long it's going to be, a mile.
If
So,
I'm a little slow looking at something, it's because I'm watching you on the TV so I can see. I
okay,
can't see hardly anything on my tablet.
right, okay. So here's a close-up of that ship that I zoomed in on. I'm going to put this down here. There it is. And let's just change the, get the darks in there. See, there's something there. If I diminish it all the way down, but there's something else there. Now, it looks like, so this over here could be, these could be other arms of the space station, or they could be solar panels or something, but they're in construction if this is what it is. So I just think this is fascinating, this darn thing.
I wonder what they intend to do with it. I wonder if it's got some nefarious stuff to do.
Well, it's going to be nefarious whether they want it to be or not if they don't take it out of orbit. I mean, you know, further out into space, because all that stuff eventually falls to Earth. And right now, China's got a 21-ton rocket that failed, and it's heading towards Earth. It's the it's the
Oh,
biggest thing ever to fall to Earth, and it was the first payload for their space station, but it was from a while back. But so yeah, that's what it could be. So I'm hello, Ralph. No, this is a space station being constructed in this near the ISS, actually far away from the ISS. That's why it's so small. And that's why it's so small. But yeah, it's something. Something's there.
seeing all that blue reminds me of remember the silver ball that emulated. I don't know if I'm saying the right word. It glowed a blue light that I told you about.
Okay.
Do you remember I said it had a mass that was like crawling all over it, and it would just the ball would be stationary, and yet there was something spinning around it.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Um,
I got rid of the blue.
that mass that was going around it, it had a texture to it in a way that the best way I could describe it is, you know what a mirage looks like, and you see that wateriness,
Uh huh.
um, you know the heat rising.
Right.
That's what it looked like with the stuff that was going around the ball.
Okay.
It looked like it was. I don't wonder if it was emitting a gas of some kind.
Could be.
was emitting something, or like a watery wave, but not like water, but like heat.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. I know what you mean. Heat waves. Yes.
Yeah, heat coming off of a hot road or something.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. Um, so that's that. So that thing's still there. It's still being worked on. It's still getting longer. So we'll see what happens there. Here's an interesting thing I found on the old intranet. And that is this Chinese space cleaner spotted grabbing and throwing away old satellite. Okay. Last month, a private satellite tracking company spotted a Chinese spacecraft apparently grabbing and throwing a dead satellite away into a graveyard orbit. So they throw it down into a lower orbit, and it gets sucked into the atmosphere and eventually burns up.
How do they determine a graveyard orbit?
Well, it's a certain trajectory that they set it on that will enable it to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. I mean, it had been tumbling around there apparently for a long time. I was going to read the rest of this. Something out of Star Wars movie occurred on Earth's orbit last month. A Chinese satellite was spotted in late January grabbing another long dead satellite, and days later throwing it into a junkyard or a graveyard orbit 300 kilometers away, where objects are less likely to hit spacecraft. So they're taking it out of kind of the it's in the middle of the highway there. So they're taking it to a lower level. So, and also Space Force is starting up their own debris cleaning mechanism for space, that they will be doing the same thing too. So this thing had to take it 300 kilometers. So it obviously grabs onto it, then it powers to where it needs to go and then lets it go. Kind of a cool thing. I can't believe they didn't have that already, you know? Apparently they do, but.
It looks like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah, it does. Almost like a spider or a crab or something. So the Chinese Sj21 satellite has been, it was seen on January 22nd, changing its usual place in the sky to approach decommissioned satellite compass. Okay, blah, blah, blah. They don't know where it's going to land, but there it is. There it is. And I will put this in the chat if you want to peruse through this. Okay.
They don't know where it's going to land. It scares me.
I know. Right? That's what happens. They just don't know. So there you go. I thought that was interesting. An interesting thing that happened in space, right above our little planet here. So.
What do they do if that spider-like thing's not strong enough to? I don't. Can they break it up to make it smaller pieces?
Well, they break up when they go into orbit. When they go towards the Earth, they'll burn up. Most of them will burn up completely. But in space, you don't have to be strong because there's no resistance. So the satellite could be thousands of tons or hundreds of tons, and a little spindly thing could move it just by attaching to it and turning its jets on, you know?
Yeah.
There's no resistance in space, or very little. So yeah. Do you remember when Skylab crashed down to Earth so many years ago?
No, not really. Was it in the 80s?
I can't remember when it was. It might have been in the 80s, yeah. I can't recall exactly when it was. But yeah. Oh, here's something that's fun. I got the last page of the Awesome Possum done. And now I have to go and clean up everything. So this is the last page.
You do such beautiful work and you tell such wonderful stories.
Thank you. So if you remember the book, it has, he does all these tricks and all these stunts, but that's not what makes him cool. It's because he's really a nice kid. All the nice things he does is what makes him so awesome. And so this is the last page, and it says, so you see, it's not all of the cool things that you can do. It's how nice you are to others. The real reason your friends like you. There you go. That's it. That's the end of the story. It's a nice little message for children. You know, encourage them to do their chores before they go out to play, like Awesome Possum, all that stuff. He's just a good kid, you know?
Yeah.
Good role model for modern kids. And the moose there, I was talking to my friend Mike, the fireman, and I think I'm going to call this moose Mike the Moose.
Oh.
In you know, in honor of the fireman, Mike the fireman.
How's he doing?
He's doing really well. He's doing really well.
So.
Keep him in your prayers, though. He's going through some stuff.
Oh, I think of him quite often.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. He's a patriot. He's been, you know, kind of just watching and listening. And so I'm really glad that he did call in a couple times here. So that was really nice to hear from him.
Yeah, God only knows what kind of trauma he's encountered.
Oh, yes. Yes. So much, you know, it's, these people are heroes, but what they go through is something you would never want to have to go through. And so.
Oh, I know. I've been in a horrible accident, and I would not have wanted to be the person that
showed up there.
Yeah.
Right. It's very, but you know, we need people like that to do that. And I'm so glad that there are brave men and women who do that work that we might not be able to do. Like, you know, like I couldn't be a doctor, right? There's certain things I just couldn't do. But most of it, you know why I couldn't be a doctor?
Why?
I don't have the patience. I don't have the patience. There you go. So that's the final page of the Awesome Possum. There's still some cleaning up I need to do, some shadowing. I need to, you know, make some of these two-dimensional clothes they're wearing look more three-dimensional. So it's going to take a little bit longer to get it completely done and then available for anyone who wants to order it eventually, hopefully soon. So that's what I'm working on. Working really hard.
I always wish I could draw.
Well, all you got to do is practice. Just keep doing it. And you know what else? It's okay to trace your own drawing. You can do a drawing and, oh, it's kind of good, but I think the ear looks funny. So you take some tracing paper or a piece of thin paper and you draw over it, you trace the parts that are good, then you change the part that needs changing. And you can, you know, get a better drawing that way by doing that.
So, my sister's a really good artist. She could look at a picture and draw it, but what impresses me about your drawings is it's coming from your mind.
Well,
you know what I mean? If you're bringing it from, it's not in existence until you put it on paper.
Right. And if you saw my sketches, they're pretty sketchy. at first. And then, like I said, I do overlays and they refine them and they get a little finer. But to start off with, all these characters are basic shapes. Like you see, the duck has a round head. It's like a round head. The moose, he's got a round thing here, a round thing here, and a round thing there. He's got a round head and an oval for his jowls. So it's just basic shapes, really. And then doing overlays. And so it's a lot of fun. It's fun when you get something that achieves the look that you're kind of looking for. Happiness. I'm trying to convey happiness,
Yeah.
So, but a little bit of refining left to do, and then that'll be good to go. Let's see what the chat's saying over here. Operation Shutdown, how you doing? Good to see you here. And Ralph, good to see you too. Yeah, we got some new people here today too. So glad to see that you're all here, and even the new people. For the people who haven't been here before, let me just show you the book here. And that's the Awesome Possum. And the duck is green, so he's matching my green screen. So he's gonna kind of blend in there. But the Awesome Possum, there he is doing his jump. He's got the fear not on the bottom of his skateboard because we shouldn't fear things. And so.
I don't know why possums get a bad rap. I think they're just cute as ever.
Yeah, they're great little animals, and they eat their weight in ticks too. So there he is sleeping in his pajamas, hanging from the tree there. So,
Aww.
and so here he is. He's very active. Okay. Awesome Possum can play like crazy. He's full of energy and he's never lazy. And so he does all these amazing tricks and stuff. But again, it's not the tricks he does that makes him cool and awesome. It's because he's so nice.
I love the pajama one.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way that it's turned out. I re-illustrated the whole book because I changed the design of the character and I had to redo the whole thing. So it's finally done. Got to refine it, do some and get it edited, and then find a publisher to put it at and so you can order copies. So there you go. I'm going to order some copies.
I don't have any little kids to read to anymore.
No?
Yeah, I do remember when I babysat, they all loved to be read to.
Oh, yeah. There's something anesthetizing about reading to a kid. It really just relaxes them. Yeah. And it's cute when they want to hear the same book over and over again,
Yeah.
My mom read Dr. Seuss books to me, and they were just so magical the way she read them, just magical. He's a magic duck. Oh, because he's see-through, yeah. That's right, Mud Rabbit. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Are you having fun, Kelly?
Yes. I hope you forgive me for my last time I called.
No worries. No worries.
Medication can mess you up.
No worries. No worries. Let's see here. Here's a tweet someone put up. It's a very interesting question. It needs to be asked. Here it is. Quick question. How come pedophiles' bank accounts don't get frozen, right? So they can freeze the accounts of the Freedom convoy, but what about pedophiles? They know who these people are, right?
Yeah.
And Epstein ran a pedophile island for decades. Did his bank accounts get frozen? No. So there you go. It just shows you again, if it isn't blatantly obvious enough already. Yeah, there you go.
That because of some sort of blackmail thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Blackmail.
It's been a rude awakening to learn that's how the world runs.
It's really disgusting. I still think it's going to run the way we thought it was running as soon as we get the reins back from these psychopaths, you know?
There's always going to be those few that's going to be doing that. It seems like it's always been that way.
Well, no, it's easy for the, well, you know what? He who laughs last laughs the best. Okay, they're laughing now, but they're not gonna be, because we're on to them now. They went decades without people even knowing they were doing it. Now we all know. So it's it's goodbye time for them. It's like that song, "We're Not Gonna Take It," right?
Yeah.
We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it. That's like the perfect rebel rouser song for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Twisted Sister.
Yeah, I like Twisted Sister. That was a good song. Have you heard that they're going after their pets now?
Yeah, yeah. They'll do anything that they. I saw a meme too. Adolf Hitler was complaining, "Stop comparing me to Justin Trudeau." Oh man.
They're showing their true colors, and it's
Yeah,
almost they're really making it us aware that they really think that we're slaves.
yeah.
It's like,
I
why do we have a charter or the Declaration of Independence if we're not going to follow it?
right. I heard a trucker today talking about this whole thing, and he said, when we first came up here, we didn't know what to expect, and because we've been seeing on the news how divided the country is, and see, he said when we got here, we discovered something different. The country is not divided. In fact, the country is very united, and so they're waking, even they are waking up to the fact that, hey, they've been pulling the wool over our eyes for quite a long time here. And when you have the reins of the media, you can pull the wool over the eyes of people very easily. So it seems.
Yeah, the Mockingbird Project.
Mm-hmm.
They've been pulling that over our eyes for a long time.
Yes. Despicable.
Getting us into wars and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, in wasn't high school, I was a little bit younger. One of my friends was asking me, how do we know that our news is being reported on another country the correct way, and then their news is it true? I never thought of it until they brought it up, and I'm like, you're right. Unless you know somebody that's in that country, you really don't know what the news is or what's going on.
No. But that's what's great about citizen journalism, that it just kind of popped up in the last 5 years. And, there's some good, solid channels out there now. X22 Report, Red Pill 78, who's on right now. And I apologize, Red Pill. And Thomas True Reporting, all kinds of them. There's so many of them. You can't even count them.
I watch all of them.
And we know there's so many. But so that's where people are getting their information. I think that's really starting to show with the low ratings of CNN. I saw something interesting. They were showing the Durham report and the amount of time each mainstream platform spent on it. And the only one that spent any time was CNN. He spent like 2.5 minutes or something like that, which is interesting because what's been happening over there at CNN? Kind of an overhauling, right? A lot of people have left there. High-ranking people are gone. And now they're starting to do a little story. I mean, I think we could be seeing the ship is starting to turn around as far as the free press here. I think you're going to maybe see something change in CNN and the rest of them. You're already seeing the change, right? Because people are leaving.
Oh yeah, I don't have regular cable.
Me
I
either.
just watch things on YouTube all the time.
Yeah, me too.
And, Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
I only see the clippets of whatever.
Right.
And I'm worried right now what Biden's going to be pulling because I don't believe Putin's doing anything wrong.
No, he's not. No, he's just. Oh, and here you go. Here's another example of, I don't know if you're on Facebook or not, but Facebook has community standards, right? Well,
I
here's
did Facebook a long time ago.
one of their community standard people. Okay, they call it Meta now, but it's still Facebook. Don't let them fool you. This is wild. Facebook Meta's manager of community development, Jaron A. Miles, was allegedly caught in an amateur child sex sting. YouTube channel Predator Catchers Indianapolis live streamed their interrogation of him. It was pretty amazing. I guess I saw a brief little part of it, but I guess it's an hour long. He, made arrangements with what he thought was a 13-year-old boy, and he got this hotel room, gave what he thought the kid was the number, and it was this team, this gotcha team filming him. So there you go. Here's the Meta's, Facebook's manager of community development. There you go. And they're trying to tell us that there's has some kind of moral high ground. They don't. They're all despots. They're just horrible people. This guy's an example. What a creep.
Yeah, I saw him just trying to squirm out of that interview.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really tell him to come here. Well, you did give the address. Well, yeah, you got the hotel and you gave him the number of the hotel. Well, yeah, I did. Well, yeah, you're caught, jerk. He's a jerk.
Busted.
He's busted. It's not that hard to be a good person. You know that it's. I don't know. Creeps like this just bother me.
I've never found it hard to be a good person, but
no, it's easy.
You have to be prepared to defend yourself. Me being a girl and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to defend myself a few times.
Oh yeah.
I cracked one guy's skull. I don't regret it.
Ouch.
He come up behind me and he was trying to force me into his car. I was about 15.
Oh my.
And I spread myself out as wide as I could, and I got my foot caught in the steering wheel and everything. So he kept having to back up to try to get my foot out. And when he tried to get me back in again, I took everything I had to
oh my God,
push off of the side of his seat and the steering wheel. And we both went down, and I landed on top of him. Next thing I know is his skull's bleeding.
Oh, wow.
I asked him, what did you think you were doing? He said, I thought you were my daughter. My daughter ran away.
Oh, God, yeah. Right. I thought you were my daughter.
That's one time I wish I would have gone to the police.
Yeah. And you didn't know the guy? Did you recognize him?
No. I thought it was a joke at first.
Oh, my God. That's horrifying. That is horrifying. I'm glad that you got out of there. I'm glad you got him on the head. Ouch. Thank goodness. I'm glad.
So tight that I couldn't breathe.
Oh,
and two of my girlfriends that were standing next to me when he came up and grabbed me from behind,
Yeah.
This is what reality is. All they could do was scream my name instead of going and getting help. And it's like,
What?
don't scream my name. Do
Oh,
something.
right. Well, there you go, friends. Maybe you'd need to get together with all your friends and come up with a plan. If something happens, you know, give little duties to everybody. You know, someone call 911, someone run get help, someone do this if something happens, because obviously they weren't prepared.
No, I wasn't prepared for
How
that at
can you,
all.
how can you be? That's horrifying. I'm very sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad you got out of it. I'm glad he
I'm
learned
so glad
a
just
lesson.
thinking of it. But I got to tell you one other thing about that, though. I had seen a detective on, I think it was Good Morning America, and the advice he gave is what saved my life. Because
Mm,
he said, don't let them get you in a car and spread yourself out as wide as you can and do your best to get away and run because you don't want them to take you to a second place.
and that's what you did. Sounds exactly what you did. That's great. That's really good
If
advice.
if I had not have heard him say that, I wouldn't have known what to do.
Right.
I think I would have just stayed stunned.
See, that's a really good public service announcement. That should be broadcast all over the place, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you want your kids to be nice and everything to everybody, but you can't be nice to too nice in certain areas. You know what I mean? And I wasn't. All I was doing was just walking down the street. We were just going for a walk before dinner time, and he come up behind me. I wasn't blocking the street or anything.
right. Well, I know why his daughter ran away now.
Yeah, probably so.
Of
If
course,
she did it,
I don't think that was a true story. That was his excuse.
yeah.
What's a lame excuse? A very
He
lame
was
excuse.
creepy. Oh my gosh, he was creepy.
Because he
He
had
was,
plenty of time in all that struggling to realize who you were, that you weren't just. I mean, so that
oh,
that
really?
so that
I
that
could.
at the time, did you believe that when he said that? Did you believe him, or
I was still trying to get my breath
I bet.
and my gather my thoughts.
Right. Oh my God.
I
That's
wasn't totally there yet.
that's horrifying.
I did do one thing that was stupid. I bent down and got my shoe from out of the inside of his car. He
Oh,
could have come up behind me again. Like I said, I wasn't thinking.
right. Right. No, but yeah, how could you know what's going to happen? And that's oh man.
And the
Wow.
sheriff's house was just 3 houses down.
Wow.
I should have, but I wasn't thinking. I couldn't think. I was scared to death and angry.
I bet. I bet. You know, a lot of men just don't understand that fear that a woman has when a man is after her. And I didn't know what that was like until it happened to me. Some guy was after me, some gay guy,
Oh
and
my
it
word.
frightened the hell out of me. And so I really know what that feels like. It's a horrible feeling. Um, I was at a mall and he was following me, and he slipped me a note, and it was so disgusting. So I was trying to like get away from him, and I'm like walking, but I could see in the reflection he was like gaining on me, and so but I was terrified. So really, I was feeling what a woman would feel. It's the same feeling, and I ducked into York Steakhouse when they used to have York Steakhouse. This was a long time ago, and there was three women there, and I said to one of them, I said, "Can I please put my arm around you? I'll explain later." She says, "Yes." So I put my arm around her. He walked in, looked around the corner, and then he got like a frown on his face and left. But
Oh wow.
yeah, that was frightening. That was frightening. And I didn't know what to do. I'd never thought of that before. So I was, I probably should have just said something to the guy, but I didn't even think of doing that. I was just,
I think you did the right thing. Thankfully, she obliged
yeah, yeah,
because she knew that you weren't a threat. I think she knew that you were having a problem there.
yeah. It's, you know, uh, so when I found out stocking was illegal, I stopped wearing socks. So, oh, and also, friends, I wanted to tell you, people always, sometimes they comment on my hair because I have a pompadour. And they think, well, how do you get your hair to do that? Well, I'm going to give you a tip here right now. I hope you don't mind me giving you this tip. To get the volume in your hair, the pompadour, the height, the volume. So it's very important when you're blow drying your hair. After it's halfway blow dried, you kind of bend over and let your hair hang down and blow it up. That airs it out. It fills it with more bounce, and then you comb it back, and then you push it forward, and then there you go. You get all this volume. But to get the most volume, you have to have the volume of some really good rockabilly playing very loud, because you can never play rockabilly too loud. So the louder the volume, the more the volume in your hair. Makes sense, right? And it just goes together just like that. So you too can have hair like this. Just you blow dry it, hang your head upside down for a while, keep that rockabilly volume up, and you get the nice volume. There you go. How do you like that?
I've always had to use a rat's nest.
Oh yeah,
Have you
ratting
ever heard of those?
ratting your hair. Yeah, my mom used to do that.
Yeah.
I tried doing it once, but I just, that's really hard in your hair because yeah, very hard in your hair. Let's see what else we have here.
You know, in the 80s, remember that with all the punk kids, they used to use egg whites to make their hair stiff and get their hair high.
They what?
They use egg whites and they put that in their hair.
Egg whites?
Yes.
Really?
And that and sometimes they would use sugar water. I couldn't I don't think I could stand standing next to them. You know, that's gotta stink.
Sugar water in your hair? Well, you
Yeah,
have,
they would some would use a sugar water and some would use egg whites.
oh my goodness. Egg whites.
And then some would put jello in with it.
Jello in your hair?
Yeah, to get it purple and pink and all those colors. Nowadays they have like spray paints or dyes.
Yeah.
But back then they used Kool-Aid or Jello. They used Jello.
Okay. And Kool-Aid too. I've
They
heard you
used
use that.
Kool-Aid too.
Yeah. I just, I don't understand the whole colored hair idea thing. It doesn't, it just looks, I don't know.
But isn't it a good thing because it's like a radar and who to avoid in a lot of ways? Because they're the woke ones.
Yeah, well, that could be. Although you can't judge a book by the cover. Sometimes.
That's what I was saying most times. Um, did you see the guy that doxed all those people that donated to the
Oh,
truckers?
that crazy guy. Yeah,
Yeah, his hair was all different colors.
yeah.
And what was the shoulder movement thing?
He's a freak.
I
I think.
didn't know what that was. It's like he's winding up his shoulder.
Well, I think that he's probably FBI or CIA or Canadian version of CIA. He's working for the governments, I think, because he's changed alliances a couple times. He's been Antifa, and then he's been other things.
he did say that he caught pedophiles and he did work with the police on some things.
Yeah,
But
I think he's a lunatic. I don't necessarily even believe him.
when he was bragging, he kept rotating his shoulder. It
He's
was just so weird, and he kept screaming.
he's a nutball. He is a nutball. That's what he is. So that's all there is to it. That's my opinion. And I'm sticking with it. Okay, check this out, friends. I thought this was something. I saw it in the ISS footage, and I got a little screenshot of it here. I thought, oh, what's this? But actually, if you look at the whole picture, there's like light coming from the sun from a certain angle. It's making all these little circles of light, like a what do you call it, lens flare type of thing. So it
Or
was
like
just
a laser.
so it's just a lens flare. It looks like a craft, but it's just a lens flare. So sometimes when you see something in a two-dimensional picture, and then you see the three-dimensional, the video of it moving and changing, and you realize, oh, it's just a light phenomena. Just a light phenomena reflecting off the lens or something of the camera. So that's what that is. It looks anomalous, but it's not. So not always what you think it is, friends. You might think it's something, but it
I'm
might.
sorry, I'm not understanding. Are you saying that it's a lens out there that reflects everything, or just a rock that looks like a lens?
No. I'm saying that so the sun is maybe back here up to the upper left,
Okay.
and it's shining this way or it's shining this way. Either one of the ways. And there's a whole bunch of these, and they change over time as the sun, as the relationship of the sun and where they are changes. So you can tell it's a light reflection phenomena in the lens of the camera. So it's like when you take a picture on a sunny day, you get these crazy looking lens things, these circles in a row, these bright spots in a row. It's lens flare.
Oh, okay, I get it now.
Let me see if I can find, I don't know if I have the other shot of it, the wider shot of it.
Have you heard that there were two black holes that were headed toward each other?
Oh yeah, I did see that. That looks interesting.
I wonder
Although
what's going to happen with that.
it's so far away though, how do you know, hard to get any kind of fix on something that far away. I guess I don't have that picture. I must have already, well, let me check here. Let me check. All right. Well, yeah, I think we're coming close to the end here, friends.
I just saw Austin Morris came in on the. I think that somebody wanted him to call in or something.
Oh, okay. Sure. You can call in, Austin.
I'm not speaking for Austin, but I just heard somebody ask him to call in tonight.
Go on in.
The last time that,
Call in, buddy. We always like to hear from you.
yeah, I think the chat was asking him to call in the last time I talked to you. So have a good night and good night, chat. I won't be able to chat because I'm having trouble seeing, but I'll
Okay.
be reading and listening on my TV.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kelly, for calling in. We really appreciate it.
Good night and God bless everyone and prayers for everyone. And
Prayers for you too. And have yourself a great dream and get better quickly.
thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay. All right. That was nice to hear from Kelly Q. And to get that story of that UFO, that triangle-shaped UFO. So the phone lines are open if you want to call in, anybody, Austin or anybody. Yeah, Mud Rabbit's going to get the Invisimask shirt. Yeah. So if you still live in an area that they require masks and you're really sick of it, you don't want to wear a mask, get yourself one of these shirts. And when they say, "Where's your mask?" Hey, I got the state-of-the-art Invisimask on. Check it out. Hello, you got one too. I'm going shopping. You can't stop me. I got state-of-the-art Invisimask on. So if they say you got to prove it, say, well, first you prove the virus. There you go. An invisible virus needs an invisible mask. That's how you fight it, right? It's the only way to do it. I'm sleepy. Okay. It is getting kind of late. And Mad Pogue. Good to see you here, Mad Pogue. I hope I'm saying that right. Mad Pogue. I gotta keep reminding myself how to say that. Yes. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. La, 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 la. Let's take a look at this one. I don't know if we've looked at this one yet or not. So here's another shot from the International Space Station over the South Atlantic Ocean. I don't know, did we look at this one yet? I can't remember. So let's see if we can find something lurking in the background here. I did not check this one. Oh, maybe I did. Can't remember. But I don't think so. Look at that. Nope. I don't see anything lurking. Nope. But we could see the solar panels there pretty good. So that one did not yield any new discoveries. That's how we find things here. We search. We look for stuff. Sometimes we find it. Sometimes we don't. But that's the fun of it, right? That is the fun of it. Yeah. Let's see here. Yes, that's a snapshot from a live feed earlier today. Yes. And you know what? Oops. I got to click on this. I want to show you something, friends. It's for all the new people here. I want to show you what I did discover, I guess a couple months ago. And if you scroll back to my old shows, you'll see it. Oh. But, oh, we got someone here. I bet it's Austin Morris. Welcome.
Hello, Aaron.
Welcome, my friend, Mr. Morris. How are you doing today?
It's good to be here. Good to be calling. I just calling in, kind of continuing a line of thought I had last time I called in, if anybody's interested, about the subject matter of American icons, American heroes who were perhaps for a time over-idealized, made into plaster statues, so to speak, and now, in the current climate, being demonized unfairly and unfactually, but just being mistreated. So there's a need for some correction in the way history is being taught.
Okay.
Is an impression I have.
All right.
But, some people. There was a book I found that tries to deal with recent distortions of our history, and it's a book by an author named Anton Chaikin. That's Chaitkin, Chaikin, or Chatkin, Anton Chatkin. The book is called Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress, from Franklin to Kennedy.
Okay.
The basic premise is that a lot of American history has just been erased, and there's a real need to bring back the reality of what certain people were trying to accomplish, and that we talked about last time, Benjamin Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
Franklin's whole philosophy was a philosophy of that human beings should gain scientific control over nature in order to uplift mankind, in order to uplift the human race. Mm-hmm. That was the real meaning of progress, the concept of progress going back to the Renaissance, basically.
Yeah, sounds good.
And of course, this made him this made him the enemy of the British establishment of the 18th century.
Okay.
Before there ever was an American Revolution, he was fighting his own American Revolution, according to this author.
Okay. Let me just stop you for a second here. I just want to say something about the image that's on the screen right now. This is what I think is a giant space station with a ship on top of it that was lurking in the darkness in this ISS picture. And I just altered it so you can see it in the distance there. And that is a mystery. We're trying to figure out what it is. So for those of you watching it who are new, haven't seen it, that's what that is. We don't know what it is. It's something huge in the darkness behind the space station. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that is a remarkable image. Because the thing on top, it looks like it's two parts. The lower part reminds me of the service module section of the Soyuz. It's a cylindrical body with wings sticking out like solar panels.
Right here.
And then the top part is where the descent module and orbital module of the Soyuz would be, only those things aren't there. Instead, there's what looks like a kind of spindle.
Yeah.
A spindle or a teardrop shape on top.
Right.
You're thinking that could be one of two things. That I've seen designs for space nuclear reactors where, for some reason, they build it in kind of a cone shape. I'm not sure exactly why, but this reminds me of those cone-shaped reactor designs I've seen from time to time, mostly a long, long time ago. I haven't seen work of that nature in recent years, but it reminds me of that.
Okay.
And then the other thought I have, which is a much less pleasant prospect, but it could be a bomb. That could be what an orbital bombing system might look like. Could
be, but it's pointing up. It's pointing away from the
Well,
bomb.
it wouldn't. It could, if you're not going to use the bomb, it could be pointing anyway. Anyway, it wants to point.
Sure.
It doesn't have to point toward its target if it's not being used for anything at the moment.
I suppose it could take a U-turn. Yeah.
Yeah. There is some kind of presentation on YouTube. I have not watched it. There's some kind of presentation on YouTube where somebody who's Russian declares that the American X-37 vehicle is really an orbital bombing system.
Okay.
That he doesn't, I don't know what proof he offers for that, but of course the X-37 is a very mysterious vehicle because it looks a whole lot like the space shuttle, except it's smaller. It gets launched in a multi-stage rocket. I think they use an Atlas V to send it up and goes into orbit. and then it'll stay in orbit for like almost a year or so, like 11 months or some such, and comes back down just like a space shuttle does.
Right. Okay.
Now the Air Force has been very secretive about what it carries and what it does. The assumption I always made about it was that it was a recoverable, reusable spy satellite.
Sure.
That the old-timey spy satellites from the Cold War era, they launched them into orbit, but the things were not. They were extremely expensive, extremely intricate devices, and they would just be you use it once and throw it away. I mean, you lose it when you use it because it's not recovered and reused. And the X-37, presumably it's got a payload bay, and in that payload bay it would have these surveillance instruments, the very delicate instrumentality to look at the Earth, and that is something you'd want to bring back and reuse because it's too darned expensive to be throwing it away every time.
Right.
Is my thought about what the X-37 is, but that's just a lot of reasonable deductions on my part. I don't have any insider knowledge on it. And this Russian thing on YouTube, they're claiming it's a bomb.
Wow.
And of course, since it's all secret, if you want to suggest something bad, there's no way to disprove your suggestion.
Right.
There's no way to disprove it. That's the problem with secrecy. That's why I don't like it.
That's why we need full disclosure.
Yeah, things are kept secret. And whatever bad things you imagine, whatever bad thing you do imagine, and if you've read a lot of science fiction like me, you can imagine a lot of bad things happening. Whatever the bad imagining is that haunts you in the wee hours of the night, it's going to be, to a certain large degree, plausible.
Mm-hmm.
If it's secret, you can't disprove anything.
Right.
So if you say aliens are coming to Earth to harvest people, to make people into people burgers, who's to say it's not true? Who could say it was not true if the alien presence is being kept a secret?
Right.
We say it's kept a secret. Since it is secret, you can very easily say that's because it's bad news. And the authorities don't want bad news because bad news would reflect badly on them.
Mm-hmm.
To make them look bad because they can't protect us.
Right. Yes.
Now, I don't want to think that way. For one thing, it makes it hard to get to sleep at night. But in total secrecy, how can you help but think that way?
Well, I think that's the way the military thinks. But yeah, it's all very strange.
The only defense I can find in my own mind, being the rummage, the terrific data dump that it is, in my own mind, since I hear good stories too,
Mm-hmm.
my feeling has been that it's all true.
Could be.
The beneficent space brothers really are out there. The Greys abducting people really are out there. The bloodthirsty reptoids really are out there. Anything you imagine being out there in an infinite universe somewhere, it's out there.
Yeah.
All the good things as well as all the bad.
Yes.
So it can be as depressing as you let it be.
Yes.
You have to. It doesn't call for discernment. It just calls for a certain selectivity in one's imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, when you're in this stuff long enough, you get to be a bit cynical and find some of the bad scenarios to be downright comical.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of H.P. Lovecraft stories, even though they're meant to be fantasy horror. They're meant to horrify you.
Mm-hmm.
But usually the horrible part of the story is this revelation that the alien creature looks like a monster. And that's the creepy denouement of the story. It looks bad. It looks bad. Okay. Well,
Don't judge a book by its cover.
yeah, yeah. Have you looked in a mirror lately, HP? Howard Phillips Lovecraft.
You know,
I mean,
you know what, Austin, when I was a lot younger, I had an idea for a horror movie. And I thought, oh, this is a great idea. And I started thinking about, well, I should probably do this. It wouldn't cost that much money to make it. And then I started thinking, wait a minute. I don't want to inspire some weirdo. What if my story inspires someone to do something like this and they really kill people? So I just dropped it. I thought, it's not worth it. I don't want that chance to happen. So I didn't do it. It's makes you wonder, because it's like 99% of all entertainment is horror, killing, and it's just horrible stuff. It doesn't need to be, but that's what
yeah, I've had that feeling about the things like the Hannibal Lecter movies and Hollywood's fascination with serial killers. That
disgusting.
at some point it starts to look like they're a cheering section.
Yeah, it's like the only entertainment we have is death and destruction and murder. I mean, it's pathetic, you know. And I remember a couple of years ago, I was thinking to myself, "Oh man, I hate these modern days when there's all this, evil, stuff in the media." And, thinking about, easier times like in the 40s and 50s. Then I turned on old time radio drama, and it's the same thing back in the 40s. It was the same darn thing. A murder mystery after a murder mystery after a murder mystery. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, but of course the things like Agatha Christie stories were the whodunit crimes. It was always it was morbid, but not sadistic.
Right, but it was
Not
based
generally
around
the
something
degree of satanic depravity one sees in a lot of things. There's a TV show, the TV series based on the whole Walking Dead phenomenon. There's several spin-off shows of that now. I cannot watch that. I can't watch that stuff.
Yeah,
it's just too gory, too grim, and too dark for my imagination, which is kind of dark to start with. I don't need it. It doesn't help me in any way.
The world needs more light. They need better stories. They need more good guys. They need, I think Superman was like a really cool idea. But you know where Superman came from? Two small Jewish boys in New York that were immigrants that got pushed around a lot at school, and because they were a little kid, they were kind of wimpy. And one was the writer and one was the artist, and they decided to do this, and they created a character that's an awesome character, not the one that they're making into a woke joke nowadays. I'm talking about the original Superman, someone who's a real hero, fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. I mean, it's a really good story about a good person.
When I was very young, there was an Aurora model kit of Superman breaking down a brick wall, which I bought.
I remember that one. Yeah,
assembled.
That's a great one.
I didn't do a great job on model kits in those days. I was always in a hurry and kind of a little lazy. Maybe I didn't do it justice, but it was that reflected my enthusiasm for Superman at one point in time.
Oh yeah, he was.
When I was very, very, very young, those Superman comic books during a period. Of course, they were very. I'm not sure I could read any of them now. They were kind of bland by today's standards, but they were at a point in time in my life. They were important to me. I enjoyed them very much at a certain window of time when I was, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years old, around in there. Mm-hmm. This would have been early 60s.
Yeah.
Early 60s period before Stan Lee modernized the comics.
Right.
Before the Stan Lee revolution, but but after the 50s, just a certain window of time when Superman comics was real important to me.
Yeah.
The artwork was very stylized, very standardized artwork. The DC organization, one artist had to be capable of making the characters look pretty much the same way all the other artists would make the characters look.
Right.
There were people like Jack Kirby who couldn't stand DC, couldn't get along with it, and couldn't work with it.
Wow.
But the Superman comics in that time window, I probably someday, if I live long enough and get enough money, would buy collections of the reproductions of those.
Cool.
Because I've kind of gone on a reproduction kick now. So
That's
for some
awesome.
things.
That is awesome. I have a friend who lives in New York City. His name is Steven Vratos. Very cool guy. I met him at Toy Fair years ago in New York City. And I was dressed as Elvis promoting my toy company. And he was dressed as Spider-Man for Marvel Comics. He was one of their Spider-Man that they hired. He put the suit on. He goes around, does parades and shows and trade shows and such. But he's also a comic writer, and he wrote himself into a Spider-Man episode. It became a comic where this guy who was a Spider-Man impersonator like him, he's walking down the street and something happens. He gets hit and he loses his memory. And he's in this suit and he figures, oh my gosh, I must be Spider-Man. Then he sees one of Spider-Man's arch enemies up in this building. And he says, oh my God, I gotta go stop him. But something's wrong with I can't shoot the webs. So he rigs something up quick to make the webs and figures out a way to climb. And he goes and battles. And pretty soon the real Spider-Man comes and thanks him for for helping out.
Oh, okay. So the guy could improvise.
So
all right, that sounds cool.
So he wrote himself into an episode of the comic. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, that is. Of course, the Marvel comics the contrast with DC was that Marvel would innovate. They would try various things, but not always to great successful effect, but they would experiment. They would push the boundaries a bit. I can remember those because my family ran a grocery store, and there was a comic book rack, and I would read all the comic books, but I'd get the comic book down and read it and put it back. So I was not a collector per se. Of course, what I had read. I mean, you talk about Spider-Man #1. Yeah, I remember that. I read it, put it back. Fantastic Four #1. I read it, put it back, and Daredevil #1, and Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, and Doctor Strange, and Iron Man, and all the introductions of these characters, and the amazing the Incredible Hulk and Thor, and you name it. I saw #1 issue, read it, put it back. Can you imagine?
Never think it might be worth something. You must have been low on change.
Yeah, well, if there really was such a thing as time travel, go back and tell my younger self to filch some of those, stick it under your shirt and sneak it home and hide it somewhere and put it away for 50 odd years. Yeah. You could retire a millionaire from selling those comic books.
Yeah.
Because those things are absolute cultural gold standard now.
Yes.
I mean, and I was in at the beginning, and of course I should be thankful that I got that much entertainment out of it, even if I didn't keep the hard copy for future. Sell my great collection some date in the future and make a fortune. That never happened. Could happen because I put them back. Of course, after being read and put back, they don't get sold, so they end up being pulped ultimately. That's what happened to most of the old hard copy of those things, and so. But on the other hand, I have this more than familiarity with the classic Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko collaborations. Steve Ditko was the unsung genius. I mean, he was the co-creator of Spider-Man with Stan Lee. Stan Lee was the editor and writer who created the stories, but Stan Lee would always give the interpretation of, I mean, he would write story outlines and give it to the artist, and the artist would interpret it. So credit would have to be given, looking back, a great deal of the credit to the artist who interpreted this and made it work. And so Steve Ditko did the early Spider-Man comics, and he did Doctor Strange. He was very, very instrumental in giving Doctor Strange its appearance and style and storylines.
Wow.
Ditko and Stan Lee had a real falling out because both Jack Kirby and Ditko didn't feel that they were being paid enough for their contributions. Since so much of it depends on the artist's interpretation of what the editor is saying in his outline.
Right.
They felt that the artist was every bit as important as Mr. Stan Lee, and Mr. Stan Lee was not fully in agreement with all that. Of course, he was the comic book business in those days was pretty stingy generally. He was kind of in a. Stan Lee was really something of the middleman because he wasn't really the money guy. He was just the editor, and so he was caught in the middle of that kind of argument.
Great name too, Stan Lee. You know who?
Yeah, but another Jewish guy in New York. He shortened his name. It was like Lieber, I believe.
Oh,
last name.
All right. Yeah.
Stanley Lieber, and he shortened it to Stan Lee, which really, really, of course, he was good with. They made fun of this on the Big Bang TV series once. They had some lines kind of derogatory, but Stan Lee would put alliterative names for his characters because he had so many characters. He needed to keep it straight who was who, so he'd give them alliterative names like Reed Richards and Peter Parker and so forth. Same letter of the alphabet for first and last name for various characters.
Yeah.
And there are very few exceptions to that rule in the Stan Lee universe.
Okay. Wow. I met a young comic book entrepreneur on his very first year at Toy Fair, and that is Todd Mcfarlane.
Okay.
He launched the Spawn
Yeah.
and figures. And I talked to him for quite a while there. He had a little teeny booth at the Javits Center, Jacob J. Javits Center, New York City, Toy Fair. And I was looking at his figures and I was complimenting. I was, wow, these are really nicely decorated, nicely sculpted figures. He goes, yeah, I don't know. I'm really taking a chance here. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I just had to give it a try. So he really didn't know what was going to happen because he was making, I think, $3 or $6 million a year drawing the Spider-Man comic book, because he was given that comic book when it was at the bottom of the barrel. It was like the lowest rated comic book in the whole roster. So they said, okay, here, McFarlane, you can take this and you can do whatever you want. So he did, and he built it up to the #1 comic book. He brought Spider-Man back.
Oh, wow.
And then one day, his editor came to him and said, I'm looking at this frame here in this page where you got a knife going in a guy's eye. He goes, I really think we should pull it back so it's not touching the eye. And he kind of went, yeah, when you gave me this comic when it was at 0, you gave me full reign to do whatever I wanted. I brought it to number 1, and now you're telling me what to do? I quit. He quit. He quit. I don't know, it was $3 or $6 million a year. That takes guts to quit a job like that. But it was a principle of the thing, and the vice principal of the thing too. So he started this thing, and he and guess what? The next year he had the number 1 comic again, except it was Spawn.
Well, I know that a bunch of dissident artists formed their own company. I forgot what the name of it, but Spawn, I think, was part of it back in the 80s, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that period. When I got up age to go to college, I decided, I had to make some sacrifices, and I just quit comic books cold turkey, quit reading them.
Wow.
About 1972, 73, around in there, sometime in that area of time. I quit it all. So my comic book knowledge is just a certain window of time, circa 1961 through circa 1973-ish, around in that period. Of course, that was when those really innovative Stan Lee collaborations came out for Marvel, and DC went through complicated evolution in those years also.
Well, did you order the Corey Goode graphic novel?
I have ordered it. That's $66, but I've committed myself to buying it, and my credit card has been debited for that. But I haven't got it yet. It evidently hadn't gone out.
They're still cleaning up some of because towards the end of the comic, Stephen was putting more detail into all the faces and everything, and all the detail, putting much more detail in it. And then when he looked at the first part of it, he was, oh wow, this doesn't match. So he had to go back and put more detail in the part of it. So, and they got some lettering to do too. Lettering. So it's just a little bit of cleanup.
Yeah.
It should be out probably in about a month, I'd say.
Yeah. The work I saw from that artist, I can't remember the guy's name, but you had him on as your guest.
Stephen Cephalo.
Cephalo's work, the samples I've seen are absolutely gorgeous, beautiful artwork.
Unbelievable.
And I'd have to have that, even if I did not believe one word that James Corey Goode had to say. I'd still have to have that graphic novel based on his story.
Yes.
Just the beauty of that art that I've seen.
Yeah,
it looks absolutely wonderful.
It's blow away. It's blow away. That guy, he really did.
See, James Corey Goode's story is the sort of thing that these skeptical types would love to hate. Mm-hmm. And I would like to be able to defend what he says, but I've got to have more facts. Got to have more facts to work with here.
Well, he did.
Before I can enter into any kind of,
for the record,
debate on the subject.
For the record, he did release some top secret documents from the government. Someone from the government got a hold of him and said, "Here's some stuff we want released. Please release this to the public," and he did. And that was all verified. So that part of his story is true, verified. So now, why would someone give him this if he isn't, what he says he is? And he's not saying stuff like he's bragging. He's just matter-of-factly saying what happened to him. I tend to believe him. He just
it impresses me that there are several of these 20 and back whistleblowers now. Several people. I mean, this Tony Rodriguez guy, some young lady, a woman named Penny Bradley. A number of people have told exceedingly similar stories.
Yeah.
That kind of correlate with each other on the secret space program.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you say it's a lie, you're calling them all liars, and their stories tend to kind of correlate. They tend to support one another's stories. There's a certain a certain commonality here, and so it's starting to gel. But it fascinates me. The problem I have with skepticism is that I can look at a story and maybe find a flaw in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to talk about it. So I end up talking about that flaw. So it sounds like I don't like the story. It sounds like I'm against it, or like I'm one of these real pathological skeptics, and I'm not. Most of these space-related stories are things I absolutely want to believe in.
Sure.
But I'm so fascinated about the topic that I just gnaw on issues like a dog gnawing on a bone.
Right. Yeah, it's
Just,
it sure gets your mind working and wondering, but it just sure does seem like we should be further along than we are. It just only makes sense that there would be that. But now, as far as these other whistleblowers go, I really probably shouldn't say anything negative about anybody, but Corey's the only one really that I've heard, and William Tompkins, the only ones that I believe now. Corey has kept a lot of information back and given other names to different parts of the secret space program, not the real names, in order to suss out who's a real whistleblower, who isn't. And he stated very clearly that the Dark Fleet is not the name of it, and that's what Rodriguez has been saying that he was with.
Yeah.
And after Corey said that, I saw Rodriguez do another interview, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, well, we called it lots of things. We called it this, we called it that, we called it." He's like, "Oh man," and he blew it.
Well, yeah. The account was that, of course, it's supposed to be something that dates back to the Germans' research in World War II and anti-gravity, and it was supposed to be like the Nachtwaffen or something like that.
Yeah,
which would that really Dark Fleet. It would not be a exact transliteration of that term. It's more like night,
right? But
night force or night army, really, something like that. This is how a literal translation of it would go. So I didn't quite like that either. Well, logically, the Rodriguez guy, the story, of course, I had to buy his book. I haven't really read it cover to cover yet. But,
okay.
He seems to have been, he was basically, his position was slave, and he doesn't seem to have been in a position to really learn a lot of secrets.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the secret stuff, or a lot of the
That's if his
insider type.
That's if his story is true. Now, Corey also said that the Dark Fleet, or the entities he calls the Dark Fleet, or the fleet he calls the Dark Fleet, do not take anybody from Earth as a rule. They don't want someone to remember, and they don't want them to bring that stuff forward. So they don't take anyone from Earth. They only take people from off planet or clones.
Oh.
So that's another thing.
Well, that makes sense.
But then on Rodriguez's side, maybe they would make an exception, and if certain things lined up. So, but what it sounds like to me is a lot of these Johnny-come-lately secret space program whistleblowers that have stories very similar to Corey's, but with some differences. I think I have not seen one of them yet that has impressed me. And I go a lot by body language and that kind of stuff.
It parallels the contactees of the 50s, really. There's a parallel there. An awful lot of those people just you look at old film footage of a number of those people, and they just look like they're crazy, nuts, absolute nut jobs.
Well, that's what the secret space program and the secret government is going to be putting people like that in to give false information, to water down what the truth is, and so people can't know what the truth is. They'll be so confused.
I think that's been a disinformation tactic all along.
Oh, yeah.
There's been a certain percentage of stories that are inserted into the narrative as a tactic that propagandists call the poison pill. You add something to the well to poison it, so that no one can drink from it.
Exactly.
And this has been done to ufology. This has a number of the ufological stories are just put in there. A number of ufological things are contrivances that are in there to sow confusion.
Yes. Yes.
And to, of course, the amusing part is that some of the stories I believe absolutely are some of the craziest.
Right.
So,
yeah. I mean,
some of the really out there stories are actually the ones that are pretty much core material for ufology. Some of them, a few.
Yeah.
That Kelly Hopkinsville preacher story from Kentucky is one of those.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, that was one. People were. There was a farm family in between Hopkinsville and Kelly, Kentucky. Those are they're near Fort Knox, I think. I can't remember if it's Fort Campbell or Fort Knox, but one of the military bases near. There's a town. Anyway, this farm family they had a visitation from some kind of strange creatures in the night. Scared them to death. Just scared them. Absolutely frightened them daylights out of them. And the farm family, they got the men got their shotguns and started shooting at the aliens.
Oh, was
they shot up their own place. They had shotgun blast holes through their screen windows.
The McPherson tape you talking about?
Well, I think their last name was Sutton.
Oh, okay.
But it was in Kentucky, south central or southwest Kentucky.
Hopkinsville.
Actually, that's the same town where the psychic Edgar Cayce was born.
Wow.
In the way of odd coincidences.
Okay, I just put in Hopkinsville, Kentucky UFO. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, sometimes it's called the
Kelly Hopkins encounter.
Yeah, okay. Kelly Hopkinsville encounter.
August 21st, 1955, 5 adults and 7 children arrived at Hopkinsville Police Station claiming that small alien creatures from a spaceship were attacking their farmhouse, and they had been holding them off with a gun for nearly 4 hours. Wow.
Yeah, they kept shooting at the aliens, and the aliens apparently were bulletproof or something. Maybe like they had force fields around them or some such.
Okay, I'm going to get this up on the screen so you can see this.
It's a pretty wild story. But that's just it. That the debunkers dismissing it always said, well, they're hillbillies. They just had some moonshine.
Is this a picture of it right here? Did they get a picture of it? Do you know?
They didn't get photographs. There have been drawings of the creatures, and they don't look. They look slightly similar to the Greys, but they have those weird big elephant-sized ears.
Yeah, I see that.
Which you don't see on Greys at all.
Right.
So I don't. It's not. The creatures are not of a type that I'm familiar with from other encounter stories.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this freaky looking thing. My God.
And it does seem. It seems odd that the aliens themselves couldn't quite get the message. I mean, you come to make contact with the Earth people, and they greet you with shotgun blasts. That's
they like us. They're giving us little gifts.
Visited.
They're giving us gifts of lead. How nice!
Lead pellets.
Lead pellets. Yeah. Thank you.
Lead pellets. Maybe that's what they have as Tic Tacs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is fascinating. I've never heard of this one. Look at that. It looks like a picture of one. Oh, look at this thing. My goodness. Wow.
Yeah, and the various attempts to debunk it have not impressed me at all.
Look at
The
that.
debunkery. Supposedly, some monkeys escaped from a traveling circus, and that's what the family were seeing.
Yeah.
That's how you debunk a story like that.
I think it's the gremlins. Look at these guys.
They are sort of like gremlins or
Yeah.
let's see, trolls or gremlins or some kind of supernatural
Yeah.
elf-like creatures of that sort. They do resemble some of the conceptions of people have had of such creatures.
Well, I got to thank you for telling me about this because I've never seen this before. This is incredible. Oh, they're comparing it to an owl here. Oh, is this an owl?
Yeah, that's one of the other explanations given, that their family was seeing an owl.
Yeah, owls would run away if you shot at them. I'm sure they wouldn't hang around.
Yeah, it's hard to because the farmhouse had been damaged by all this gunfire going on. There were bullet holes and screen doors were ruined and things of that nature.
Was there any blood?
Clearly, something had happened.
Was there any like alien blood or anything?
Nothing that would indicate. And one of the family members had supposedly seen a landed object nearby in a gully. I saw a television show where of course you can't always trust these documentary things on TV, but television show where they had one of the family members and they went out in the woods at the spot where there was a roughly circular area where all the vegetation was dead. And that was supposedly where it had landed in 1955 or such, and the soil was still dead in this particular area. I've come across that in other UFO landing accounts.
Interesting.
It's like the soil gets fried with microwaves,
Right.
and nothing will grow there.
Huh. Wild. And
that would correlate with stuff I've read in the David Alzafon book. And that's what I have to wake up and pay attention to when things start to come together and make sense, supporting each other. You've got to come awake and start taking some notes when that happens.
Yeah.
Because David Alzafon never refers to this story. He doesn't seem to be aware of this story, and it seems to match up in some ways, things that he's saying.
So interesting.
In fact, the David Alzafon material seemed to correlate with a lot of UFO stuff that Mr. Alzafon himself doesn't refer back to.
Huh. Wild. That's crazy. You know, I've said this before. You could study this 24 hours a day for decades and you'd never get all of them. There'd always be some more that you didn't see yet. That's what just freaks me out about how many there are of these strange stories.
Yeah, it's why I can't let go of it. Like I say, it's like a dog gnawing on a bone. I can't let go of this subject matter. It drew me in at an early age.
You know, these do kind of remind me of the red eyes. If they had red eyes, there were those creatures that looked very much like this that were caught in South America or Mexico.
The Virginia case in Brazil.
That's it. Yeah.
It reminds me that the eyes. There's a similarity in the eyes there.
Yeah.
Now that case, the creatures. I can't remember what their ears looked like. They didn't have giant-sized ears like that. Their heads, as I recall, they looked a bit like grays, except they weren't gray. They were kind of a beige-brown color. Their skin was described as being oily looking.
Okay.
Like greasy or like some kind of patent leather. And they had red eyes, and their heads had each alien's head had 3 knobs sticking out of it. 3 kind of not exactly horns, just protuberances two on the sides and one in the middle that kind of stuck out that were just like little ridges or knobs on their heads, which you don't find in the grays descriptions we have of the grays.
Uh-huh.
But their height and overall body form was somewhat like that of the gray, though, with different coloration and differences about the eyes and this structure in the head.
Yeah.
And the creatures there, they seemed to be hurting or hurt, like they were injured, and they were just kind of cowering and whimpering. They weren't threatening.
Oh, really?
Of course, the authorities came and took them into custody, and that was that.
They took
supposedly in that case, the Brazilian soldiers got angry because U.S. Air Force people arrived and took all this material, everything.
Yeah.
And that they were all supposed to sign non-disclosure agreements and swear an oath to never tell anyone. And then everything was taken away, and none of this information that the Air Force, U.S. Air Force had was shared with the Brazilians. The Brazilians had made the capture and everything, and they felt that they'd just been left out and elbowed out and treated very disrespectfully.
Wow. That's
the story behind the Virginia case that I had read.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the latest thing I saw about that, somebody was on YouTube saying it was all a proven hoax.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you proved it to be a hoax. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
I didn't read it or go further because I don't. As a general rule, I just don't like debunkery because it's always just a very simple-minded kind of wave of the hand dismissal.
Mm-hmm.
Like saying the object was a weather balloon, or the alien was a monkey escaped from the zoo. That kind of thing, where you just you have to change all the details of what the witness said they saw in order to make it fit this preconceived gesture by the debunker, and that just does not. I don't engage with them, and of course, to defend ufology, you really have to engage with debunkers at some point in time, but I don't, because I just find it very wearying to have to argue with someone who's not really going to listen to anything you tell them. You know, they've made their minds up, so what the heck?
Wow.
What's the point of arguing?
That's wild.
They're not going to listen to you. They're not going to pay attention to your point of view. Nothing you say is going to change their minds.
Right. Well, yeah,
but
a lot of people have to see something. A lot of people, they're not going to believe any of this till they see it. I didn't believe it till I saw it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case with a great many people. Seeing is believing, I guess.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
It is.
Let's see. I was about to say about debunkery. There's some points of skepticism are needed to try to give focus to the case. Try to one problem that's always at the core of all this. People, if you don't agree with the debunker's point of view that there's nothing to it, if you think there's something to it, people will expect you to have some idea as to what the something is.
Yeah.
That is, you're expected to explain what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
And the things like the Kelly farmhouse case where the aliens come and get shot at with shotgun blasts, and they still don't leave for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Even though there was clearly a message there to get lost, go home, alien, go home. Maybe that should just be printed on a sign instead of a shotgun blast. But the point is that you're expected, if you say you believe a story like that, people will expect you to have some idea of what that was all about.
Mm-hmm.
What were the aliens there for? Right. And really, I have no idea.
How would you know? You wouldn't know.
We impose our own cultural standards and say, well, they're scientists from a distant planet and they've landed to take specimens and study things, but that's not really. Only rarely do you see that kind of behavior. Very often, they're like somewhat simple-minded tourists
Mm-hmm.
They're here to catch the local color. You know, let's go gawk at some hillbillies with shotguns. That seems to be this theme there. And I don't. The Virginia case, the object crashed, and the accounts I see don't give us a good accounting of what happened to the crashed object, which is a point about that one that I would like to pursue a little further. Like I say, my form of skepticism is a little different from the debunker's skepticism. I just ask questions. I just think it's pertinent and reasonable to ask questions like that. Where was the crashed object and what was left of it?
Right.
Because those aliens were castaways and they were pretty terrified, apparently, from their attitude and behavior.
Yes.
But what had happened to their ship? Some of these crashes, you see, it's speculation in my mind has always been that a lot of these crash incidents are not accidents. They're shoot downs.
Yeah.
Somebody's been shooting vehicles down.
Yeah.
That what these vehicles are is they're not exactly bulletproof. They can be brought down.
Mm-hmm.
Application of force it can bring them down. But the aliens, in my mind, different races have different levels of technology, and some of them are pretty much immune to bullets and bombs, like maybe the Kelly creatures, and being shotgun proof. Maybe they're Sidewinder missile proof as well. But other aliens, their vehicles are really quite simple and not defended by Star Trek force fields and such things as that.
Mm-hmm.
And they are vulnerable, or they were vulnerable in the 50s period when some of the more spectacular incidents of crashes may have occurred.
Mm-hmm. Madpogue says, sometimes you don't see it until you believe it. There you go. And
well, yeah, the willingness to take in a thing that is occurring, you can be your own super skeptic if you have this attitude. I suspect that now this is my own subjectivity, but things like not so much on the UFO issue, but psychic phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the skeptics.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Well, some skeptics who are so hostile to this, I believe, it goes back to this book about the founding fathers. But some of the skeptics carry with them a philosophy that shapes how they have to respond to reports of the paranormal. And this philosophy is like a kind of straitjacket for the mind, in my view, but I see examples of it frequently, where basically the underlying premise of this philosophy of materialism is we have the five senses: seeing, hearing, taste, touch, and smell, the five senses. And that is our window to reality, what we see, what we hear, and so forth. And that is all, period. So, and then it proceeds from that underlying premise, that underlying assumption. You can't have God, you can't have angels, you can't have any form of paranormal or supernatural phenomena or event. And it's going to shape the rest of your construction in your own mind of how reality must work. So if something happens, you've got to instantly respond with some put down, some wave of the hand dismissal for anything that fits outside the five senses. Mm-hmm. So there is no sixth sense, just as there is no God. This leads to, but you see, this philosophy of materialism then affects the rest of how you're going to view reality and interpret things.
Right. Right.
It's going to proceed from an underlying philosophical basis. And if you think that people like this are crippled somewhat and, unable to have any kind of spirituality, the damage was done at the philosophical and conceptual level long before they said anything or did anything that offended you. The damage was done to them, probably as children.
Well, if they're students of science, they would know that the experiment a scientist is working on is influenced by the scientist. So what does that point to but some sort of spiritual or paranormal effect, where you can the thoughts in your mind can affect the experiment in front of you. I mean, and look at the placebo effect. I mean, there's two really good examples that should, to any scientifically minded person, point towards spirituality or some sort of metaphysical anomalies, at least. Wouldn't you think? I mean, if they're thinking scientifically.
Well, yes, but like I say, the materialist skeptic has an underlying philosophy that influences all the interpretation for these other things, and of course, it becomes it's making reality a kind of prison.
Right.
You can't have UFOs. You can't have ghosts. You can't have any form of premonitions or lucid dreaming or any of these events in life that we might give spiritual interpretations to. And you can see this attitude in what's called English empiricism, going back into the 18th century. It leads to a certain hardness in one's point of view toward reality and life. You see, it strikes me that you have to take this kind of philosophical analysis and look beneath the physical reality to try to find out what mindset led to bad things which happened. The case of African slavery, for example, that was basically a kind of genocide, a kind of inhuman brutality being practiced by Christian nations, particularly, well, Portugal and Spain, but especially England. The mid to late 18th century, Britain's Royal Africa Company obtained a near monopoly on the African slave trade. And during this same time, the colonies, the future U.S., were required by law to import slaves. The plantation owners pretty much had to buy slaves, and that was written into the rules.
Wow.
And attempts by colonies to abolish slavery, like Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Compact, the Mayflower Compact, the original foundational document for the colony of Massachusetts, said there would be no slaves. Well, the British Parliament struck that down, would not permit that, and would never permit laws like that. The laws were designed to protect certain British interests.
Right.
I mean, when we get American history about our revolution against England, our histories don't quite cover the breadth and depth of the depravity of the British Empire, what the colonists were fighting against. Now, admittedly, many of them were slave owners who didn't see themselves as fighting against slavery, but the kind of imperial controls that had led to that bad situation was what they were fighting against. And for that system, there had to be an underlying philosophy which shaped the mindset of the perpetrators of these crimes. Because one remarkable thing that doesn't get commented on in our conventional history books Of course, Britain, under pressure from religious interests, would eventually abolish slavery in the empire itself, the British Empire, while it would continue in the American South and the Caribbean regions, some places. But British Empire would abolish slavery and would act against it eventually in the early 19th century. Well, these financial interests in London, they couldn't make a big buck out of the slave business anymore, so they switched to opium. We had the Opium Wars against China, where the British demanded and got control of all Chinese waterways to send their gunboats to protect the opium shipments.
Wow.
But can you imagine a foreign power going up the Mississippi with gunboats so they could sell Americans cocaine?
Wow.
How would that make you feel?
Not good.
I mean, that's what the British were doing to China. That's how the Chinese empire was essentially brought down and ruined.
Wow.
And these were the same financial interests who had gotten their initial boost from African slavery, and slavery's gone out of fashion. So now now they turn into drug lords. I mean, it's the kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, when there are rebellions against the empire, this is what rebellion is against. This is the kind of control system that the original rebellious revolutionaries were trying to overthrow.
Yeah.
And when this history gets distorted, you have to ask why and who is doing the distortion and for what reason, what underlying reasons. And there's a school of thought that says that it's the enemy here is really the same financial interests that have been our enemies from the very, very beginning of our country. That just evolved over time and changed their form and changed their names, but it's the same kind of control mechanism.
Now, speaking of slavery, I heard that before there were African slaves, we had Irish slaves here. And so apparently Irish people were considered more expendable than dogs. So they were...
Well, that's just another chapter, another gruesome, ugly chapter of the whole history of imperialism.
Right.
That was Ireland was the first colonized country. See, it astonished me to find out in the time of Queen Elizabeth of England in the 16th century, you know, King Henry and Queen Elizabeth back then. In those days, the Irish had fishing fleets. There would be fishing boats going out from Irish ports to the Grand Banks and such to fish.
Yeah.
Well, when Britain conquered Ireland, when they completed their control over Ireland, the Irish were forbidden to own boats.
Wow.
They were forbidden to build or own any boats. Any Irishman who was going to work as a sailor or a fisherman would have to go to work for some English company.
Oh boy.
That was that put an end to Irish fisheries. The Irish wool business, Irish clothing business. Irish people could raise sheep and sell the wool, but the wool would go to England for any kind of refining into clothing, into fabrics.
Wow.
It could not be done in Ireland. Ireland could not have any form of metallurgy going on or any manufacturing activities. The Irish people were to be relegated to the status basically of slaves, although they weren't called that. They weren't bought and sold.
Apparently they were to America. I think a couple hundred of them were the first slaves to reach America were Irish children.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't come as a great surprise.
Yeah.
It fits the pattern of these other things.
So
there was an Irish leader of the late 18th century named Matthew Carey, who wrote a lot of work documenting British crimes against Ireland. control of Ireland and the British stifling of the Irish economy.
Very sad.
He had tried to. There was a period of time when Britain, under pressure of foreign wars, had made concessions to the Irish, and there was a window of time where Ireland had a semi-independent parliament for a time in the late 1770s, 1780s period. Because of the American Revolution, the British could not take military actions against the Irish, and the Irish attained a certain independence of activity and thought when there was some development of the Irish economy going on. And Matthew Carey was the leader of this movement to develop Ireland's independence. But he was eventually arrested in the after the by the 1790s period, because of the French Revolution and the breakup. America lost its alliance with France, which caused an end to that balance of power, which would favor the Irish, and the Irish became under increasingly cruel and comprehensive control of the British masters. And those events would lay the foundations for what would later happen in Ireland when you had the potato famine and millions of people starving, not hundreds or thousands as in the past, but millions would starve because of, and that was Britain's Corn Laws. See, the British were the champions of so-called free trade, which meant there couldn't be tariffs or protectionist laws passed in other countries. But Britain had its own protectionist laws, which were never abolished, which were still in effect. And that included what were called the Corn Laws, which prevented the importation of food into Ireland.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's the famine.
During the potato famine, when a large segment of the whole population of Ireland was starving to death, when Irish people could watch their children starve to death, Ireland during that period was exporting food.
Horrible, horrifying.
I mean, there was some charity, but not much to spare for charity. And
wow,
it was a horrific time, and it was purely a policy of the British that led to that. Because in past eras of time, in Matthew Carey's time, certainly the people were not dependent solely on potatoes to eat. That was the 18th century Ireland was not that dependent on one staple crop. They had a more diversified economy in those days, and it was after the British took total control of the island and its economy that led to that horror, that tragedy.
Yeah. Mad Pog says, my grandparents fled Ireland before independence. Does that entitle me to reparations? Yeah, me too. I got an Irish name too. Yeah.
Well, that's another thing entirely. This whole business of reparations. I mean,
it's stupid.
A large part of the profits of the slave trade went to the Royal Africa Company, and guess who the biggest shareholder of that company was? King George. I mean, nobody is asking the House of Windsor for reparations.
Right. That should. I mean, because less than 2% of white people ever even owned slaves, and some black people owned slaves. So it's not as black and white as they make it to be.
The impressive thing to me was just Lincoln's own analysis of what was wrong with slavery. Was just that Lincoln pointed out in his own past, when he was very young, he was extremely poor. But he always had this. He always believed that he could better himself. He always had opportunities to better himself throughout his life, various times, various ways to make his life better. And he started out dirt poor, but raised himself up. He said the slaves were people who were never given that chance. That's what it means to be a slave. Anybody else can in a bad situation can find a way to work the way out of it, but a slave does not have that kind of option. Never would have that option. And that's where the difference is. That's what makes the difference. That's why it's wrong. And I credit him with finding the heart of the matter with that argument.
Wow. Yeah, it's the idea of reparations. I remember when the Democrats rolled that out as that was their plan, reparations. Of course, it's such an unfair thing. Like you said, it should go right back to the monarchy. They're the ones that made all the money. But yeah, nobody's talking about who made all the money from those actions. Somebody was getting rich during the potato famine, I'm sure. But that's what
somebody.
But that's what a bad party does. They don't have any solutions for today's problems. They have to look back and divide people, and do it. It's terrible. But anyway, yeah.
Well,
wow.
they're again. You have to look at the underlying premise behind it, and the underlying premise is essentially it's like Marxism. It's based on envy.
Yeah.
It's all based on envy of the have-nots for the haves, and the idea that you get some kind of coercive action to level things out,
right,
with coercion and with confiscation. Now, the whole premise behind technological progress is that you can develop the economy, and the rising tide would carry up all the boats, so that people generally prosper when the economy is prospering. And to do that, you have to build infrastructure, and you have to build the means of production up.
Yeah.
And that was this book by Chaikin that I mentioned earlier, called Who We Are. Its opening chapters. Franklin, before the American Revolution, Franklin was in England. He lived there for a number of years.
Right.
And he had belonged to this group called the Lunar Society of like-minded people who shared his philosophy of progress, his philosophy of Renaissance humanism applied to better everyone. And these people were the creators of the Industrial Revolution. They were. It was a virtual conspiracy underway, basically, and this working in contrast and as a counter to this imperial structure, because what they were doing was developing the unrealized potential of human ingenuity. Like, one of them created the first modern coal mining operation. They were mining coal, sending the coal on a waterway, through a canal. And at the time that this project started, nobody was mining coal. There was no market for coal. But this guy was developing a coal mine, believing there would be a market once it was available. And sure enough, of course, the other members of Lunar Society included a man named Bolton, who perfected the first modern steam engine and applied it in factories in Manchester, England, which became the first industrial city in all the world.
Interesting.
And it was all these people were these correspondents who were working with Benjamin Franklin. Now, of course, it would be a bit simple-minded to attribute all this progress to Franklin, but Franklin was like the messenger, bringing these people all together, getting them in touch with each other, and getting them to work together. And the whole goal in all their written work is to uplift mankind, to make greater power, greater wealth available at kind of a grassroots level.
Yeah.
Because the early industrial cities were not bad places. I mean, they weren't slums. They weren't like the later slums.
You got to start somewhere.
These people were later, during the American Revolution, these people were suppressed by the British government. And I mean, one of them was the chemist Priestley, who had to flee Britain. Others got death threats and things. there were actions taken against them, and eventually the factories they created were taken over by others who were not so humane.
Your
And it was
knowledge
all-
is amazing, Austin. I gotta say, the stuff you know is amazing. It's it's mind-boggling. So I gotta hand it to you. I do have to say though, we're gonna wrap this up because we've been going on for a long time now. It's after 12, so I know a lot of our chatters are getting a little tired. I'm getting a little tired. And so I think it's time to wrap this baby up. Do you have anything that you want to say for a last word for our friends here?
Oh, no, that's good night and God bless.
Good night and God bless. Very good. Well, thank you so much, Austin, for calling in. We had 2 good callers today, so that's awesome. So thank you very much, and
All righty.
have a good evening.
Okay. Good night. Good night, Eric.
Good night. All right. All right, friends. That's it. We made it again, another episode, a long episode of Truth Quest, where we're just downrange of strange, where the outrageous is contagious, and the paranormal is the new normal. So thank you, everybody in the chat. Young Star Wizard, I know you just got here. I'm sorry, we're closing it down. It was a long show. I want to thank everybody who came today, everyone who chatted, everyone who called and watched, liked, and shared. Thank you so very much. And we'll see you on Monday. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday nights is when we take this ship and explore all these realms. So remember to keep that camera pointed to the sky so you can take that picture of that UFO, so you can come on the Truth Quest and talk about it. And remember, you rock. Thank you, everybody. Until then, peace in.